How are you doing, Jonas? Are you?
Yeah, I just hit the button, so now we are live. So I'm just gonna post this so people can find it.
That'd be nice.
Oh,
Hmm.
now we're competing with Manakai's game.
Yeah, well,
The
You know-
first time that has happened.
it is, yeah.
Well, as it stands, I have multiple monitors. I could technically have multiple streams running.
Yeah.
I don't think that was in the. I don't think that was something that was thought about when.
Oh,
Inside
warning!
stream.
This stream is intended for mature viewers.
I mean,
You know, might be some cursing in here, baited there just so. Is this made for children? Are you making children broadcasts in here? And I'm like, I'm not.
I mean, given some of the topics at this ball, fair point.
that's a bit awkward, but whatever.
Okay, so all live. Okay, I just need to get my maps to refresh properly. Oh, it just finds the call. Isa?
Yes.
So you disconnected. Are you okay?
Yeah, it's just a hiccup.
If
Don't worry
you
about it.
Put up your volume a little bit, Isa, if you don't mind.
I mean, I can.
Oh, now you're audible again.
I mean, now I'm directly speaking to the mic. So
Yes,
it's
there we go.
better.
Better, yeah.
Speak to the microphone.
Speak to the mic, please.
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello.
That's all you get. That's all you get.
Thank you, Isakawa, for your wonderful contribution.
Okay, I'm off. Bye bye. No.
Very quick session.
Well, we started the streaming, so I cannot be anymore on online streams and stuff. Even if
Yeah.
we're recording.
Go. It has been posted. If
I'll
someone...
look at that giant dragon.
Yes. Big fat happy dragon. That's me. I don't know where I found that dragon thing. I found it, thought it was cute, and was like, I'll use that.
What's that dragon's horde made up of?
And where is it now? Now, are there any fat dragons? I feel like there is like a fat dragon character somewhere in 5e. D&D, like a really indolent, like chubby dragon.
Might
Okay.
be somewhere.
I think. Oh, actually, in Out of the Abyss. Remember that dragon? It was like the big chubby chunk dragon.
Thunder Chad, whatever his name is.
Thunder Shad. Yep.
Anyway, I think we're good. We can get the show moving.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Let me force the map to refresh again because it's acting up.
There might be some fat dragons in the new book that came out. What?
And welcome back, one and all, to Ponybond, the Tale of Friend.
Hey!
I just remembered I have to do. I gotta leave, guys. Sorry.
My
Oh no,
God.
you're not, Chip. We're playing Pony Bonds.
I almost escaped this day. Almost.
That's great.
It's 9 p.m. goddammit. Last thing that
Last time, of course, our lovely group of ponies had met a new friend among their adventures. Torin Eversmile.
Oh, Torin Eversmile. He's lovely.
This is great.
As you had all gone to try and get favor from the local unicorn.
That's right. That's right.
I have to say, Haldamir's ponies are pretty fitting for Haldamir.
Pretty
Obviously.
good.
Of course, this is the first time I've actually ever run a game on the 1st of April, so this is my gift to everyone.
Yeah, no, see, here we are.
Enjoy, viewers. Live rendition or not so live if you're watching this later.
Yeah. Happy April 1st.
I spent way longer designing all of these ponies than it was worth my time to do. But it was funny.
Is it that is it like a new version of that pony generator? I remember I used it once upon a time to make a pony out of Zacharias.
I don't fully know. I went on the Google Play Store. I looked for pony generators.
Sure. Gotta get that pony creator.
And I made one for each of the characters.
I think they're lovely.
I think you put too much effort on this. Way too much effort. But can you send me that pony picture?
Too much effort, but please send me the picture.
Yes.
I will put it in the Blood Bombs chat. I'm somewhat sad Howdy wasn't here to get the reaction.
Yeah.
Fine, he'll get it later. He'll watch.
But I will post all 5 of them into the Blood Bombs chat for you guys.
That's great. Thank you.
I'm gonna put that for my Discord icon for the day.
Nice.
There you go. There's the full version for everyone.
Jesus fucking God.
The pony generator actually did pretty good job. I feel.
I mean,
pretty good at.
You look pretty fancy.
Yeah. I mean, I should be.
This was 45 minutes of my day. I did not.
45 minutes. Yeah.
No, DDS, I applaud your effort and I hate you for it.
I did my best to try and read your door.
What's big is in a purple suit? Am I? Oh, it looks so weird on a pony.
He's got the horn though.
Yeah, I got the horn and everything. Yeah.
I made sure the one dark hoof for our vampire.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, one dark hoof. Yep, I like the detail.
I try to get good detail for everyone. I looked at like the facial markings on like Tauren and tried to replicate that in blue. It's great.
You put way too much effort on this. You fucking God.
I was fine because basically what was happening was so I had to go out shopping anyway. So while I was walking up the shops, I was just there on my phone just designing ponies.
Yeah, sure.
Lovely.
A tale of friendship.
Unfortunately, I couldn't keep this guy going if I wanted to. I know nothing about My Little Pony, but
sure,
it was worth it for Lee to making this.
I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Also, I look forward to now confusing any viewers who first logged onto this.
I mean,
video while I was talking.
I mean, yeah, I know.
I guess I can put us back to actual reality now.
What? Oh.
So technically, all those are working tokens. Like if you double click on them, it brings up your character sheet.
Hey.
That's great.
It'll be.
You technically totally play a session as the ponies.
Put my hoof down.
Now I discard this.
There would be few things I would want less.
That does not surprise me.
Oh, the pony section.
Yeah, that was not worth my 45 minutes of time, but I'm still happy I did it.
No, I wise investment. I feel.
Yeah, I very much normally have like a time to like a kind of time into time out ratio I'm going for.
Yeah, sure.
Definitely far more on the time in than time out.
As long as you had fun along the way.
I look forward to Howling along later and seeing these in chat. That should be pretty good.
Yes.
We'll see if he can tear himself away from the dadness of everything.
In worst case, it'll be tomorrow. He'll message me like, "What the hell was these?"
Indeed.
But yes, actually, last time though, we did meet a new friend. Just not in pony shape. This one's actually in dragon shape. No, dragonborn shape. As we gained Tauren as a new party member. Well, not so much swearing his oath to Amnes, but implying interest in Amnes.
No, implying interest.
I would like to apply to a temporary position to your organization.
Internship.
Yes.
Paid internship. We don't believe in unpaid internships here. At least not for player characters. See you later.
Sorry, I had a quick housekeeping question before we start Dark. When Vicus escaped his confinement with everyone else, he did find a ring, and I do not recall what that ended up being. Do you recall what that ended up being? Or did we even investigate that? Perhaps. Because if not, then we can do the session. But if we haven't, I've forgotten, then that's my fault.
Yes, that was. I think that was. Was that the ring that Haldemir got? It was the ring Haldemir got.
Perhaps if it went to someone else, then I would have forgotten about it because it's their
I
responsibility.
believe it's a ring that Haldemir picked up that makes him better at seeing through lies. Deception. Checking.
Perhaps I don't see it on the sheet, so I'm not sure.
Annoyingly, yeah, it's not sitting on Haldemir sheet, even though I know for a fact he has it.
Either way, that's something to think about later, just so I know.
I want to lose the magical ring, whatever it is.
Indeed.
As last time though, the group had some interesting moments. There was some dramatic acting of injuries to snoop around. There was the fighting of many creatures, including a giant, as well as many wisps. And you all got an audience with the Silver Duchess Decia, who seemed to drop much of her normal whimsical act to speak to you in a more serious manner. Seemingly agreeing tentatively to a possible alliance. Though the terms of which looks like you'll need to discuss moving ahead, especially given she has asked to have a state visit to your realm now.
Who?
Darius is busy hammering out the details, no doubt.
Very likely. No. To my understanding, most of the PCs didn't have much more they wanted to do at the party.
No. I don't think so.
Was there anything anyone wanted to cover, or anything anyone wanted to discuss with the Duchess further, or are we calling the party a full close?
No. Not
You
right
obviously,
now.
you obviously have a chance to speak to her in private in future when she comes to visit.
Yeah, I'm planning on doing that later. When she's in our lands is probably best to broach the subject I want to broach with her. So we'll leave it to later.
Now give me all your money or I kill you.
No, it's more
Robbery.
networking.
No, I think we got. I think we got a goal across. We did. And up to her now. I'm not gonna beg for her favor. Amanas doesn't beg you for anything.
She probably won't respect you if you did.
Exactly.
You're kind of wanting to just be seen at minimum as an equal, if not a superior. So
Right.
she has people begging for her attention all day, and she's mostly ignoring them. So
Yep. Exactly.
okay then. In that case, though, I will call the party to the ball itself to a close, as the group does return back that evening, back to the hotel you've been staying in, for a chance to rest up. And I suppose for Torrent to be, well, his kind of first time leaving with the group.
Yeah, luckily for him, he has no bags to pack because he didn't really arrive with anything in the first place.
Probably just like a military carry satchel, and that's about it.
Yeah, at best, like probably not even that, since his departure from his homeland was rather spontaneous. Very unlike him.
Oh, can I buy that special puzzle out of the bar?
Hmm?
Can I buy that blood wine out of the bar? You know, for home.
Do you want to barrel with you home?
No,
You can go ahead and just pinch the bottle for yourself.
Sure, nice.
Up,
The guards just stop you as you leave the city itself. They're like,
I
Yeah.
paid for it.
I mean, they don't really have that much use for it staying by. It's going to go bad otherwise. So.
Yeah.
maybe
I'll best use it for it.
maybe we should set up a Sanguine Vintner in Sarkai.
What?
I'm sure you could generate some business with that. Not sure what business, but some business. Very
I
well.
know a few necromancers who could use it.
Not vampirism if it's really donated, right?
Hmm.
No, it's not. It's donation.
That's right. Just have someone made a love offering, to the shrine and happen to get, a spell or something returned. Coincidence.
Yeah, they got surprisingly healthier.
Yep. I don't know.
That evening the group is able to fully return back to the hotel and have a good chance to rest up with minimal assassinations, which is excellent.
Good.
Good.
You've already had one assassination attempt since you've been here. That's probably enough. Yes, anyone who hasn't can take their long rest.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Some of you did spend resources.
Oh yes, sure did.
Oh, there's a button. Long rest. It's new day. Is it?
Yeah,
It is a new
It
day,
is.
in fact.
it's for items and stuff.
For your descriptions, Sheik, since you haven't been here yet, the group decided, in their majesty, to rent out the penthouse suite at the most expensive hotel in this merchant city.
Was that my decision?
That was mine.
Essentially, this being the kind of hotel where not only do you have on-site dry cleaning, on-site like sauna, this is the kind of place where you have just multiple velvet beds in a wonderful thing, constantly restocking amounts of food, just pure decadence being delivered to your private suite upstairs.
No, I think seeing that Torren would eventually drop a comment along the lines of, I usually look down upon decadence, but in this case it is a weapon.
Now you get it.
It is important to seem powerful, and while it is difficult to seem powerful without hostilities, this is a good alternative.
Project your.
And as Torren is not yet aware, because they didn't have the money on them to pay it, they've just simply sent the tab to their treasurer back home.
Yeah, that's what Vicus is worried about. He's not worried about this stuff.
I-
This is a good idea, but it's the consequences.
I'm royalty. I don't really carry a wallet. I have people who do that stuff for me.
Cashier card, crown.
Yeah, crown. Like, hello.
It's a good thing there's no such thing as like swiping the card and getting rejected yet.
Oh,
I
well.
am. I'm gonna
That would be a bad
check
thing for them.
They're bad for that.
Still though, you're all able to enjoy kind of the luxury of your suite, which is very private as well, which is quite nice.
So, a closed private room in there and go inside. Be a body in there.
One of the rooms you've told no one go in there.
No one go in there. Nope. I just go in there, reapply the spell every now.
You haven't yet had to reapply the spell, but because you do technically have one corpse up there.
Yep, sure do.
Though I think it's only the one corpse for now.
So far.
It's early that morning. You receive actually a knock at the door. Probably one of your squires answering it for you.
Sure.
As Arcton will actually kind of head over to Amanus in the morning. What would Amanus be doing early in the morning after a hedonist party like that?
Train. It'll be in his breeches and tunic and training with a sword. Probably, just practicing his forms while everyone else is asleep. He gets up early, he does his prayers, and then he trains.
Arcton kind of taps on the door, even though it's open, and get
Yep.
your attention.
Yep. He will finish the current like arc of like series of attacks, and then he will go back to his starting position, take a deep breath, and then put the sword slightly like down and lean his hand on the pommel and look over. Yes.
We got a missive from the port. Apparently, a ship back home for us has been arranged for a few days' time.
Odds. Very good. We'll start packing up then and make our way back.
He nods.
Continue his training, and then as Arkner is about to close the door, he'll bark at him to. As soon as he's done with his like morning chores, he'll get his ass here because he's gonna train too.
He maybe kind of freezes for a moment and then kind of almost gives you a bit of a perhaps almost overly reactionary kind of salute, but just go like, yes, sir.
Goddamn kids these days.
Not quite he wasn't quite expecting to get barked at. He seems up for training.
Excellent.
How was Vickers feeling this morning?
Well,
It was a long night.
it has been a long night, but none of them have been, well, gravely hurt. And honestly, while the events were exciting and were something that preoccupied him, he is still more worried about the assassins that were thrust upon him, the mysterious letter, and perhaps when he wakes up, he will go seek out Mizara to see if her business here is finished or what she has found out while they have been gone to this ball. Hopefully, she hasn't been sitting around doing nothing other than babysitting her brother, but we'll see.
You can indeed head to speak with Mizara. She looks very frustrated as she's currently sitting at a writing desk within the penthouse. And she kind of looks up at you with the kind of look of someone who needs a cup of coffee or something. They're clearly exhausted.
Well, I thought I had a long night, but he kind of just waves his hand dismissively at her.
I hope yours was more eventful.
Eventful, yes. Successful, yes. But time will tell if it's enough. As for you, what has had you preoccupied? What have you found?
Firstly, preparing a lot of letters. A lot of letters. But that's not what you're interested in.
No, the crux of my question is whether or not you feel your business is finished here. And also, furthermore, what else have you found about our assassins?
Well, I did what I could asking around. For my business here, I've done everything I need to. I am free to head back in your company. That frozen hellhole whenever you're ready. She does not look the happiest about the idea of going back to the very frozen city, but
Well, she said she'll help us if we helped her, and we've helped her now, so
she'll fulfill her obligation. Doesn't mean she has to like the climate.
indeed. Because
As what I discovered, however, annoyingly little, yet simultaneously something still. So from what I can tell, shortly after they took my brother hostage and brought him here, Communications started going underway. Some letters were sent off to some people down in the south, down in the main capital. For as long as what we've learnt so far. It appears they were doing exactly what I thought they were doing at first. And they merely wanted to try and stop. Well, they were worried about what Ferelda would do, and they were doing their best to try and stop it apparently by trying to assassinate everyone relating to me.
Sorry, I need a refresher. Why is she so wanted that we have like all of these people going after her?
Well, it literally was just answered. They thought the Ferrari was a threat, and so they decided to take them all out.
How is she the part there is the question?
True.
Which is a good question, because the group doesn't fully know, though I assume Vickers will probably follow up on those lines.
If I recall, she was somewhat related to them in nobility, and also I can't remember. We found something in her notes that connected her to Ferelda.
Yes. So what you do know is the fact that apparently she used to be the main spy master for Ferelda.
Yeah.
Used to be. As well as apparently her brother is now needed for some kind of important marriage. Though he wasn't the primary pick.
Oh. So when this happened, this assassination happened, what happened to the power structure of Ferelda? Like, where did it go?
Are you asking her that?
Yeah.
She pauses for a moment, sighs. Ferelda's been in a difficult situation for a while. The High Duke's line is running to its end. He has no good heirs, and very little other family to move on with.
Well,
which presents an issue.
yes, indeed it does. Given your previous line of work, what course of action would you think the Duke would take, given the situation?
The planned course of action was simple. The Duke has a niece who, while not a direct line, is close enough to pass the title through. The hope was to try and marry off his niece with another strong noble house within the realm, consolidate down assets, pulling together the land of multiple powerful houses, and try and hopefully reinforce the line the best he could. And this way he also remains politically neutral by not having to marry someone outside the realm.
Good plan, but
the original plan was they were going to marry my cousin.
Well, not unusual in noble circles, I guess.
No, but the implication here is that I assume that cousin was also targeted.
Pretty much everyone with the Naraya name is now dead.
Oh.
Over the span of what was only a couple of months, and at one point just a couple of days, we lost members. At first it was what legitimately seemed like a basic accident. Then another one which definitely couldn't have been. And I went to investigate. And when I had come back, large swaths of our estate were burnt down with the inhabitants inside. Which lent us to an interesting problem. And for all of Frodo led to an interesting problem. As now the very clear marriage has now become very unclear, given, well, our family line is kind of non-existent now.
So there is no one else?
Well, there are alternate candidates, but the problem is most of the other candidates had stronger influences outside the realm than we were wanting. We were wanting to try and remain something politically neutral in this matter. Frodo, for the last century, has tried to stay out of the infighting between, well, your people and Mesberia. The two realms, you've fought each other enough over the history. We don't want to be part of that.
Understandable, but it seems that now you may not have much choice, right?
That is the concern.
Then it would, if there's any choice to be made, it would make sense to choose one with influence that we can control. Or, well, you, but you.
The decision isn't mine to make, though. That would be the Duke's choice at the end of the day.
Indeed, but it is our job to influence.
She sighs and nods. That is true enough. As it stands, Ferelder is due for... There's no way out of it. I can't see any way it's going to be avoided at this rate. We're going to have a civil war on our hands while we have orcs attacking at the border. At this point, with so much bloodshed, which I'm almost entirely sure now, though, was caused by someone in power in your capital.
I guess not.
I don't know if it's your queen or if it was just some noble house or who it was. Someone's trying.
If we could somehow find concrete evidence, then perhaps the Duke would be convinced to kind of pauses for a moment, convinced to consider, to rethink that neutrality stance in perhaps our favor.
Or he may go in the complete reverse direction and decide to ally completely against the Radiants and yourself in protest of the meddling.
And that outcome is not good for me and you both.
It is very bad for all involved. Regardless, this is going to be a bloody situation now. My hope initially was to figure out what happened. Actually, this has been useful. I can't identify who triggered all this. I've got enough leads to try and start digging on who ordered it. And by extension, well, I don't think it was a coincidence that we had an assassin meet all of us with my own and Amonis's name on the platter.
No, there are no coincidences.
Amonis was an unexpected variable for them. They didn't expect him to show up in what was, to them, a simple political bargaining for another realm. Which looks like it spooked them. They spent resources trying to stop any of us getting too close.
Yes, but in doing so, they perhaps reveal more of themselves than they wish to.
Most definitely.
And
I'll share. I can share with you what documents I've got if you want to look at it yourself as well. But
Oh.
At this point, they've given us enough of a lead that it might take time. We'll eventually track them down.
Good. I would expect to. This is not a problem that is going to go away by itself.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to do my best on more a personal basis to try and see if I can curry any last whims of favor out of the other nobles in Ferelda, but that's an uphill task for me. I was not particularly the most liked there.
Vicus nods slowly, and
So there's something about our court position that tends to make us less than favored.
he has to laugh at that, and says, "Such is the price of our work and our position. But to be frank, Mizara, while the rest of our court tries to curry favor with other duchies and such, Ferelda is important to you, correct?"
They are. My lord, I have sworn that I will serve the interests of your court. It doesn't change the fact, though, that that is still my home.
Indeed, which is why I am saying right now that I do wish to aid in whatever way that I can to ensure that Ferelda, at the very least, does not become a combatant, but at best, perhaps an ally and perhaps a flourishing one, so that you can be safe in knowing that your home will stay as such.
You can probably invade and annex the place.
Shut up, Amanus.
Secure it.
Good thing you're not in the room currently.
Yeah, he's not in the room, so shut up.
There's solutions to these problems.
It's appreciated, Vicus.
He shrugs and says, "Regardless of the debt that's accrued between us, you have been an asset, despite my lord's obvious misgivings given what happened. I don't trust you completely, however, I respect you and understand your talents."
With all due respect, I also don't trust any of you fully.
I wouldn't expect you to. And in fact, if you did, then we would have a problem.
And we'd also probably be both terrible at our jobs.
Indeed. Regardless, Mizara, I'm here as your asset and also the same instead of you. And he'll with that stated, he'll just leave and leave her off to her stuff.
As you've just now learned a rather significant bit of information about your neighbours.
Yes, indeed. Very useful.
Because as soon as that Duke passes away, they've got a civil war on their hands, so good luck.
Yep. Probably a good idea to engineer that so it doesn't become a conflict against us.
Yeah. A succession crisis. Obviously, Mizara's hoping she can somehow salvage something out of her deadbeat of a brother to possibly use, but
Yeah, something about a marriage there on that they plan to use him for when they were captured.
Essentially, Mizara's plan goes down the lines of the fact of, well, a member of her family was supposed to marry the niece before.
Ah, right.
Technically, she could try to see if she could squeeze her brother into that void.
That's got to be a tough sell.
She is fully aware.
Can understand why she's so stressed out.
But as it stands, it's an option she sees that potentially will keep the political neutrality the way it was.
Yeah.
Though I'm sure you guys can already see advantages on your end potentially from that.
Many advantages.
I mean, yeah, it's also if Karen himself is willing, given the fact that seems to be a bit of a rebellious chap going off to cults and stuff. It's not. It's not a great personality trait for a arranged marriage and settling down.
It's hard to sell your into cult warlock deadbeat brother to a marriage. Like that's. Oh
She's got an uphill battle on her hands.
yes.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. Well, he's dedicated. Some things like cults.
He's good at making deals.
Although, exactly, if you want 10% off at the market, he's your guy.
Yeah.
He is a practiced. He is practiced in the arcane arts.
Hmm. Is good looking? Question mark.
And only sometimes animates the dead.
What's
Wait,
not? What's not to love? You know.
Yeah, it's not a great position for her in, but she's doing her best.
Indeed.
Though, also on the other hand, you've now just also learnt that apparently unmarried foreign niece.
I mean,
Yeah.
the Arkland wants to marry at some point.
That was a putting up from commoner to Duke Consort.
That's like, oh yeah, you know, he stands in neutrality. How about you just fully side and marry into the insurgent court in his eyes? It's great.
I hope that satisfies Vicus's insights a little.
Yes, it does.
Also knowing that Mazzara does have at least a lead on who the assassin might be.
Good.
And is also willing to share those documents with you as well.
Yeah, he'll take a look at them whenever it's appropriate to divulge.
There's a lot of them, but Vicus can see the basic patterns in there that there's only something that you could track with time.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean,
There's money moving hands, letters sent, no names, but enough to still work with.
Yeah, this is important. I mean, this is a veil thread that we need to catch up on, or it's going to bite us in the ass later. So good. It's also a good lifeline for her in Amnes's eyes, because I mean, we don't have her, then might not be able to find them.
She has increased her potential usefulness. I'll give her that.
Dick is his plan for that too. He knows how Amnes works.
Or you've got to sell it to Amnos based on usefulness.
Yep.
Miss Vampire,
Yes.
I presume you're just still asleep based on your character's normal sleep routine.
Yes. If not better, she's gonna sleep the 16 hours that she wants.
Damn, 16 hours.
So we will see her this evening.
And maybe next day. If not bothered, she's just gonna sleep.
A death like Tupo.
I mean, she's not deathless. She moves around.
Sometimes.
Doesn't breathe.
Does she breathe?
No, she doesn't.
No, she doesn't.
No. Has she ever been taken for dead and just carried off mistakenly?
Oh yeah, there was one English problem.
Yeah. Maybe you should just have a sign or something. I'm not dead. Just leave me alone.
Do not disturb, please. I am on.
Yeah,
I'm alive but not dead.
I cannot leave that kind of sign, at the king's room on read the rumors.
Not
Yeah,
dead. I'm just
that's-
sleeping slowly.
Yeah.
Which I suppose leaves an interesting thing. Of course, now there is a new Dragonborn here who's not had real, of course, still doesn't really have a place here at the court so far. What is Torin's morning routine like? Is he like an early riser as well, going straight to training? Would he be more relaxed? What are you up to?
He absolutely is an early riser. Like the first light hits and he's up basically. Probably mirroring Amanus quite a bit in that respect. Although his morning routine isn't, go train. But there's a lot of maintenance and cleaning something that perhaps Amonis has his squire and servants do.
Oh yeah.
Torin does himself, like oiling the armor, like sharpening his weapons, and inspecting everything he intends to use for the day. That's really most of his morning, really. Organizing, cleaning, maintaining, inspecting. And then, training. He does, but not like on the regular. He's trained for 30 years every day. He can afford to basically skip the odd day if he doesn't see the use in it. But most of it is spent just making sure that he's prepared for whatever comes in the day.
Okay. Obviously, for Torin, you get to see kind of the court, the small court that's here with Amonis. I'll just move the party back to the home screen for the moment. Don't read the map anyway. But there is a small handful of people here. There are the occasional servant who ends up coming up to the floor, of course, who just belongs to the hotel. But then, of course, there is, for example, as you're kind of cleaning and maintaining your gear, you very likely at the same time see Arkland, who's currently doing his chores of like polishing Amonis's armor. And probably tending to it as well. The young squire, clearly, like you can tell this, he's still quite green at this, and maybe not the best at maintaining the armor and everything, but he's putting a lot of effort in, at least. Even his skills not the best yet.
Yes, seeing his attempts, most likely his mistakes, or perhaps the spots he misses. Torin sort of frowns and basically gives hearty, unsolicited advice, basically being like, "Give me that. I'll show you how to do that properly. If you polish the armor for someone else, you better make damn sure you do it correctly, because they might rely on it for survival. You miss a spot, you don't oil a joint, they might freeze up in a crucial moment, and things might not go well. This is the important job you will perform, at least in your current station. So you put all your heart and your knowledge into it, and if you lack knowledge, you ask someone who has it, such as me."
Albert kind of looks Torin up and down. Is Torin a big individual?
He is huge.
Okay.
Like, even for a Dragonborn, he's large.
He looks way up at you. You kind of move over. Thank you, Mr. Torin.
Yes, you can leave out the mister. It adds nothing useful to my name.
Sorry, I didn't know if you had like a proper rank or anything I should call you by. I'm kind of. He almost seems a little bit nervous looking you up and down. Possibly your stature intimidating him slightly? I'm not sure.
Torin also has that sort of behavior where he doesn't really know what personal space is or what being polite is. He's very straightforward.
That's quite the interesting hammer you've got. Comments as he raises an interesting eyebrow at seeing the designs.
It was fought for and won.
What is that, like Orcish?
Yes.
Huh.
Back in my previous position, I fought orcs regularly. If you fight someone not just once, but regularly, you will learn to, well, not only learn about them, but ideally learn to respect their ways too. Perhaps if not respect, then at least be aware of them. Although in this case, while I did not respect their goals and opposed them, obviously, I did respect some of their methods, some of their ways, some of their traditions. This hammer, while being an excellent weapon, crafted in an unusual way, at least unusual for anyone who isn't an orc, I suppose. It was too good to simply let lie on the battlefield next to my slain foe.
There's Arctic kind of like trying to kind of looking you up and down, doing like he's clearly trying to like figure out like what goes through Torrens, like figure out who Torren is a little bit, but kind of smell a bit. I would see him starting to relax slightly.
What is your name?
Arklin.
How did you become Amanus' squire? It is an important position, one that requires much trust.
I honestly don't know if I've earned it. He seems kind of rubs the back of his head slightly. It looks like he's kind of letting down his guard a little bit around Torren for some reason or another. My mother was mayor of one of the towns that helped Amanus in his fights. And we went to petition his court on the ground of my mother wanted to try and obtain us titles of nobility, and this ended up being my side of it. I don't know why he offered me the chance to be trained under him.
Surely whatever actions you take and whatever respect you earn will not necessarily reflect upon your mother and gain her power. If she wanted to earn respect, she should be polishing Amanus' armor.
I think she's polishing his books back home, like like logistics, that kind of stuff. But my mother did always wanted me to try and become like a knight or something, and I just didn't expect. I didn't think I'd be serving someone so important. That makes sense.
Suppose it does. What does it change, though, whether he's important or not? You simply do your work to the best of your abilities, and you will be rewarded for it. If the one rewarding you is more powerful, that is only beneficial for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, you are right. Yeah, no, it's been interesting since getting a sign like this. Calls everything from like a mage attack of like pyromancer and then like fighting Sahagins down on the coastline here. A lot different from just fighting the house guard and instructors. What he's talking is watching is like you're trying to like demonstrate.
Yeah, at this point, I think Torren has basically taken over the work completely because he doesn't trust this squire to do it right.
He does appear to be trying to watch closely though and trying to like pick up what you're doing. Okay, just kind of running his mouth though at the same time of just perhaps being less nervous because just Torren isn't someone like super important comparatively. He can kind of let his guard down a bit. Instead of being just surrounded by high nobility all the time.
Torren probably picks up on the fact that he's open because Torren's not perceived as being important. He makes a note, but of course he's not.
I mean, at the same time, you know, he says like he recognizes you're dangerous. Dangerous and politically important are two different things. For the moment.
Basically, you can't tell on him and you get in trouble. in a sense.
To a degree. He totally knows that you could probably just behead him right now.
Yes, with my hammer.
Hey, if you're good
I stand by what I said. You
Although-
swing hard enough.
Thorin probably still like carries a long sword and maybe like, you know, a small bow just in case. I don't know. I don't have a bow in my character sheet, but he would be the sort of character that you just have a bunch.
The walking armory syndrome.
I mean, if a sword is basically of negligible weight, then why not, right?
I mean, as a fighter, as a frontline fighter, it behooves you to have all damage types you can get your hands on. If you fight a slime, maybe you need that club. If, you know, something's vulnerable to piercing or something. Everything.
You have a zombie you need to slash through.
Exactly. A skeleton I need to crush. A vampire I need to impale, I guess.
You better have a spear for that one.
Like,
Still, I will spend some time trying to like, as Thorin is like helping, they're just like asking why you're doing certain ways, being inquisitive, like genuinely trying to like better himself.
Yeah, unless explicitly asked about something Thorin's doing, he's just gonna do it quietly. Like he's not a great instructor. He just wants the job done well, not necessarily a teacher.
I at first thought he was going to do this sort of dad thing of just leaning on the fence and be like, so what do you got there? And like start giving advice.
No.
No, he just walked in and took it. Give me that.
Once he's done, he's just gonna hand it over back to him and go about his day some more.
Fair enough. Still gives some interesting insight to Thorin. And hey, I can a little bit. It can be at least be slightly, maybe perhaps slightly better at it next time. Is CL nervous about the whole vampire impaling comment?
There's no vampire.
Does anyone have any wooden impaling objects on them?
I have javelins, I think.
I mean, that's basically a giant steak, right?
Yeah.
I have my my horn.
Mm,
Can use a stake.
maybe.
It's sharp.
Be a bit of an awkward position for you to remain in, but
Is it made of wood?
Does it need to be?
wood helps. But
It's calcified mana. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Well, maybe we should do some testing.
Okay.
Bring a vampire and we'll do some testing here.
I mean, you've got one currently asleep for the next 14 hours.
That's true. Is she a vampire really, though? Sort of thing.
It's
No,
true.
she's not a vampire.
Fake news.
She's a lovely, sweet, and innocent girl. Nothing wrong about her. No.
Just don't look at her hands.
Yes. That bottle of blood that she's clearly keeping next to her bed.
No. It's a fancy wine from the Duchess.
It looks like a fancy wine bottle.
I see.
It might contain blood, but that's different. So it is wine that has been preserved, so it won't go off for the next couple of days at least. Yea, gentle repose. Hell of a use for it.
Yeah, I wonder if I put gentle repose on Seal, that work? Keep her fresh for 10 days.
Probably doesn't keep her fresh.
I do have one last thing to.
Oh, so you want to bring up?
Yes. Vickers would like to have a talk with Theo.
You absolutely can. Any particular setting you want to talk to him in, or just
In Vickers's room, just the two of them.
very well? You call your page in. Theo slipping inside, and kind of as always, unless you're looking at the door, he's kind of silent entering into the room.
Vickers is sitting at perhaps a table or desk or whatever. He looks a bit pensive. He is drumming his fingers on the table, but as he senses Theo come in, he turns to him and gestures him to pull up a chair as well beside him.
He does so.
So, I have thrust you in to the whirlwind of the city. My questions for you are really, what are your impressions?
Of the city? Of last night?
Of all that has happened since we have arrived. And he kind of gives him like there's a bit of a knowing gleam in Vickers's eyes. There's a reason he's asking this.
There's a lot. If you could pause for a moment. And just instinctively activates the psychic link on you instead.
Yeah.
I'm slightly more comfortable trying to talk that way.
We accept it.
And at this point, you're fairly used to just mental beaming back and forth anyway.
Yep.
Kind of scared when you nearly, died.
Vickers nods slowly.
Can you please not do that?
He puts a hand on Theo's shoulder, which is probably something he doesn't do that often. It's only when he wants to draw attention, because Theo's not one for physical contact that much. But he looks him in the eye and he says out loud, "What you did for me was, you saved my life, and I want to thank you for that, Theo. Sarah's told me how much you struggled to keep that telepathy going."
I don't know how far away you were, but, you were unconscious for ages and I couldn't.
I know.
I had to wait for you to wake up, but that means I had to kind of just keep it going.
Well, what you did, I owe a debt to you for. And I have been training you, Theo. I have been teaching you how to use what you have so that you can be independent, to succeed, to live. However, given how things are going with the court, the king, and things around us, it's become clear to me that if you stay with me, then you will, and have been, be subjected to far more danger than you would be by yourself. And so, in repaying my debt to you for saving my life, I will give you a choice.
He
You
looks
could
very
stay.
confused.
You could stay with me here at the court, and I will continue to train you. However, my training, perhaps you might have felt is challenging, but no, now I would train you and equip you to pauses for a moment. To survive. Or you would remain with Raiden. Safer, perhaps, but you wouldn't be as involved in what we do. I give you this option because now you have felt what it is and known the dangers of what we do. And it is not for me to decide your life for you. You don't have to answer now. There are many days before we return to Sorkai, but when we do, I would hear your answer, Theo.
Theo just kind of goes a bit quiet, and even the mental link just kind of goes silent as he just nods to you.
All that said, there is merit to taking a break. So if you do decide to stay with me, it is perhaps best for both of us not to delve too deep into danger so quickly. And while we're here, Theo, you should probably enjoy the what the king has paid for. I don't think our good friend Raiden will be very happy when he sees the bill when we return.
Oh no, Raiden's gonna be so upset seeing all this.
Oh, I will cherish the look on his face when we return.
Just don't mentally connect to him. I think it might not end well for us.
Vickers laughs. Indeed, I'll be careful.
We won't hear the end to it then. At least right now we can just run away.
Indeed. Well, Theo, I will leave you to your own devices for today. Probably have much to do.
He'll get up and break the mental link as he heads to the door. Kind of looking back and staring at Vickers for a moment before heading out.
He'll see as he looks back. Vickers has already turned to back to the table, and you can see that he is tossing the thermal cube that Zed had between his hands, and just thinking.
You'll notice oddly looking at the table, there's not one thermal cube on there. There's a second thermal cube. Or at least. And then you very quickly realise, wait, did he drop a minor illusion on me while I was in here? Very quickly dispelled by you just kind of even just waving a hand near it.
It does the job to break him out of his reverie, and you see a smile on his face before he probably leaves.
The day, of course, does continue on. The group no longer having kind of the impending party or anything. Amnes is able to spend time training Auckland, who certainly needs it.
Yeah.
They're also very enthusiastic after seeing the mayhem you wrought in the training grounds.
I don't know. It's good that the kid is picking up interest. Amnes would definitely train with him, and fairly harsh training, all things considered. But he's not abusing him, but he wants it to to actually train him, right? So it's a lot of training swords. It's a lot of taps on the arm or shoulder or something as Arklan leaves himself open. Then back to original position, and then he's just again, and then a series of of attacks, and then you go slower, and then you go faster, and just back and forth like that. Try to build him up a little bit, both physically but also mentally, so he can resist some of the pain and stuff that comes with fighting. And then we'll get into some sort of more say like not religious exactly, because Amnes is not overly religious, even though he's a paladin, but more of a ideological schooling, I would say. But Amnes does sort of count on the boy's hero worship to do a lot of that for him. But we shall see down the line how. He is actively trying to make a more of a fighter out of him, though. He appreciates him for the inspirations and whatnot that he brings. His youthful exuberance and assistance has helped a lot in the past, but it is time to forge the kid into a proper squire, which does mean weapons training for sure.
He has the basics of how to hold a weapon down. That's obviously not going to be enough for Amnes as a squire.
It's just, hold shield higher, damn it, and, slap.
Oh, for all that the training pads can do their best to try and lighten the blows. With Amnes' 19 strength, he's certainly still going to leave a bruise.
He might take the gloves off for Arklin. Doesn't want to smash him into the ground necessarily. So it would probably be only 16 strength, but yeah.
It's fine if you still want a super high strength, go to whack him around. You can look call Torin.
Nah, this is training Arklin is Amnes' duty as his liege. He wouldn't let that to Torin.
That's fair.
Besides, with those gloves, Amnes actually has more strength.
So, the difference is he relies on magical assistance to do it.
You're just a tank.
Torin is just pure skill, raw force. Amnes is augmented by his magic. I mean, he would be open to, he will train with Arklin for a while, and then when he sees that the kid is too tired or too hurt to actually proceed, then if Torin is around, he might request Torin to join them, and then he'll be like, all right, Arklin, we have trained now, going slowly and methodically. Now look at me and Torin if we go at full speed, and then do mock duels and fights with Torin with training weapons, just showing Arklin how fast and furious it can go. Starting slowly, building up, and then requesting Torin to do all out battle, just to show him off, to see. Try to illustrate what he's trying to teach.
Yeah, Torin would be into that. Maybe
that would impress Arklin, to see that there is how much improvement one can get. Just put him in his place a little bit as well. Yeah, you're training here. This is how good you need to be. We're getting there, but this is what you can expect.
Could you both give me a skill check while you're doing this?
Sure.
I can accept athletics, persuasion. Yeah, either of those will do.
Athletics or persuasion of all things?
Yes.
Oh.
I mean,
hey, that is.
I like the athletics icon.
that is.
We don't see the athletics icon too often.
That is
Miss leg day. That's what that icon had.
beyond arms.
That is incredibly close.
Okay.
That's actually probably better to see.
Yeah. I just imagine both of us when we go all out, it's just your blur of just trading swords and parries and ripostes and sidesteps and blocks. And through it.
Both of you are super respectable warriors in your own right. The sheer number of attacks per turn between the two of you.
Yeah.
And that's not including the fact that Torin is probably going to be pulling out maneuver dice after maneuver dice if he feels like it.
Yeah, it's like, at full speed. I imagine, both of them going all out. It would be a lot of hits on both of them, but Amina's taking slightly more hits than Torin with that skill check.
Seems about right given the overall figures. But moreover, part of it was not only there just to see how well you did against each other, but also how much you're able to demonstrate your prowess to Arkland. Which certainly, Aminus is great at putting on a show, and Torin is just good. He's good at this.
A lot of it, probably just explaining as well. Be like, okay, so look what he did here. So you angle like this, sidestep like this, and then it also, I suppose it also matches the different approach to fighting because Aminus doesn't have a lot of formal training. This is mainly
Orthodox, right?
Yeah, it's an unorthodox, very savage sort of fighting style he has. While Torin, he's military trained, right? He has discipline and maneuvers.
He is all training, all discipline. I'd say, well, Aminus and Torin are both obviously like fighter types. Their approaches are almost like polar. Aminus like augmented with magic, which everything is fair in a fight. Torin, none of that. So yeah.
Torin's is the kind of thing that you could look into like some kind of textbook. It's like, oh, that's his fighting style there.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way. Torin has become an expert at what he does. Just what he's done is very traditional, very by the books.
The battle master.
He also puts a lot of focus on reading his opponents, like trying to react in the best way there, not just like what's the word? Not just basically doing textbook fighting, but also applying like the right maneuver at the right time, ideally. Like with Aminus, for example, like he wouldn't try to be on the offensive because his maneuvers enforce saves on his opponent, and I assume that Aminus saves are ridiculous.
They are very strong.
He is a paladin after all.
Yeah.
So he would more like wait for Aminus to like try to strike at him, but miss because he has a shield up, and then riposte instead. Whereas against a different kind of fighter, he might fight just a bit differently.
So if you want to know what, though for the most part, if you want what save the Aminus is bad at, quote unquote bad at.
Yeah, probably Dex, but who isn't bad at Dex? Am I right?
It's Dex int in his case.
Yep, Dex
Nobody's
int.
good at Dex. It's impossible.
Yeah, that's what is Dex anyway?
Listen, you see that fireball coming at you, you brace. You don't dodge.
You see the fireball, you just close your eyes and take it.
I can't wait for the first fireball after my level.
Stare into it and grit your teeth. That's the only way to do it.
Vickers, meanwhile, dealing with if you're in Aminus' aura, having a plus 11 bonus to reflex in Aminus' aura.
Yeah. I dodge before it even happens.
Like Neo here.
No one really notices what happens with no one really notices what happens when Vickers dodges at this point. It's just a case of Vickers is there. The fireball goes off. Vickers is not there anymore, but he's now standing 5 feet away. Look, it's completely unharmed.
Yeah. No effort expended. He just doesn't exist for when the fireball hits, and then he's back again.
As your training is going on, you actually end up eventually having someone else also watching from the doorway.
Uh-huh. What?
Mm.
He doesn't immediately intervene. He doesn't do anything to interrupt your flow or your teaching. But the figure that comes to the door is Mizara's brother, Karen. Which for your sheepicles, I will, as always, I will describe the NPC for you to give you an understanding. What you see is who you eventually notice standing at the doorway. You haven't seen them before, though they seemingly are allowed to be here, as far as you can tell. Is a human in the very early 20s. Almost like university student kind of area from like your mindset. But they stand. But they're there in actually some basic scale mail from what you can tell as well. So they're just kind of observing. They don't look particularly too well built to Torin's mind. They almost look a bit sickly, and you can almost argue somewhat sickly almost to a degree, but standing. Yet he seems to stand there still fairly happily in the armor, regardless. He kind of just watches away. One thing that's very obvious looking at the human is he's covered in tattoos, like just from the neck basically down across all of his limbs, just tattoos. A lot of them. They are eccentric and just almost instantly kind of give you the kind of feeling of like supernatural, cult-ish almost. Just looking at him.
All right, could I like roll an insight check? Like, why is this person observing us? Like, is it an admirer? Is it a spy?
You are free to roll an insight check.
I've got expertise on this. I'm gonna roll it whatever.
No.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Well,
You're fighting. You don't have time to look.
It's true. You are
To be
trying
fair,
to.
You can't crit fail on skill checks, so it's just a 9.
Yeah, it's just 9.
But as Seal says, it's a spy. Charge and destroy.
You like look around and Amnos just whacks you in the face.
Yep.
You're like, oh wait.
You honestly have no clue. Perhaps not because you can't read him, but just for the fact that as you're trying to read him, suddenly you have a foam greatsword going past your face. You don't necessarily have the time to read him at the moment.
All right, fair enough.
I'm necessarily keeping you maybe a bit too on your toes.
Oh yes. What's Arkland's reaction like to these demonstrations and
Exhausted as he is, though, he is clearly like his eyes are glued to the two of you, clearly trying to not only like listen to what you're saying, but also you can see him watching your footwork, like trying to see like how Torin's holding the weapon, see how else you are, and it's like he's very clearly trying to mentally like take notes of what's going on.
how much strength does Arkland have?
Currently, Arkland has a mere 14 strength.
Okay, not ready for
Which-
full plate quite yet.
I was still better than Avarice, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
he's strong.
I mean,
he's-
it's
yeah. I mean, understand like he has done. His shooters have trained him the best he can. For someone who's still very green, it's not bad.
Oh, well, potential.
That will probably go up a little bit more as you continue training him.
It's 15 for plate, am I right? All that?
I don't know.
I think that sounds about right.
I think so.
He needs some weight training on him.
Just get him some mithril. You don't need strength.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be pretty sweet though.
Yeah, he needs some weight training on him and such if he's going to go into plate. But that's not something that's. I mean, that's entirely doable. That's just something that over the course of several months he can build up some strength. He's still young. He still has a chance to reallocate skill points or ability points.
Mm-hmm. All right.
He's not locked in his ways like the old Dragonborn or the old king.
Yeah, we should get him like a mithril breastplate. That could be kind.
I think right now what is your armor right now? Yeah, chain right now he's got.
Mithril is uncommon, right? Mithril chainmail could be possible.
It's not impossible. It's entirely something you could get. It's not the kind of thing you'll find just lying around everywhere, but you can if you're in a major city like this one. It's not impossible to find either someone who might have some or someone who might know someone who can get it for you.
You can even go, yeah.
Alternatively, you can always try reaching out to some of the dwarven allies you've made.
I was just looking at it because mithril is lighter. It is a lighter armor.
Yes.
Maybe his strength doesn't matter too much then. Heavy
I don't know.
armor.
I'll look about the actual effects of
I
it is.
think it's doesn't give him the disadvantages on the tech stuff.
That's
No,
the-
it's if armor normally poses disadvantage on stealth or has a strength requirement, Mithril doesn't have either of those things.
Oh, okay. It's also about strength. I don't know.
And also, well, it doesn't matter for plate mail, but if it was a chain shirt or a breastplate and Mithril, you can wear it under your clothes.
Neat.
pretty neat.
So yeah, no stealth disadvantage and no strength requirement if it's Mithril.
After all, Mithril, a metal renowned for its not only for having a slight blue sheen to it, but also just super light.
A splint mail or something for him then. The plate might be a bit pricey.
Just a bit, given the fact it took you forever to get one.
Yeah. Well, something to keep in mind.
Yep.
It's not a bad idea, actually.
You know, rules is written. Mithril plate armor is cheaper than plate armor.
We do add the cost on top
You
of
had the cost. Yeah.
Oh, true. We discussed it. It just
Otherwise, it would be ridiculous.
It would make no sense. Yeah, it would be so silly.
Ah, yes. Mithril, the sheep material.
But yeah, Splint would be something that would be much easier to try and find in Mithril Splint, but just purely because it's cheaper. It's still wow, even still Splint mail still weighs a lot, £60 by itself. Oof. A lot of metal.
Lots of metal. Let's see. Splint.
About the base AC 17.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. What's the price of it? I don't think splint aren't that pricey either. 200 gold, okay. And then Mithril, well, Mithril's uncommon, so between 100 and 500 extra gold on top of that.
Maybe something like that.
Something to keep in mind as he might level up from his now soft self and become, go more towards the paladin squire route. Hit him out a bit. Like a flint mail, shield, and then that sword, and like the dueling fighting style, and I think he's pretty good for himself.
Be very much the model of a well-armed individual like that.
Very fancy. Lots of magical shit.
Sword, shield, it's all great.
Well, at the end of the training session, Amnas will wipe the sweat off his brow, put the training sword away, and give a slight nod/bow towards Torin and thank him for the sparring. It is very refreshing to have someone who can fight with him on equal terms.
Torin will return the gesture, though somewhat awkwardly, simply mirroring the custom. He'll say, I would think that the rest of your... What are they called? Oh, I forgot the English word.
Retinue?
Retinue, that's the word. The retinue can defend themselves as well. They did not seem like they needed protection. I suppose they fight differently, especially Vicus. However, that does not mean that you should not practice fighting opponents who fight like that. If anything, we are too similar to learn from each other.
Rolls his shoulders. You can hear sort of the bones creaking a bit underneath. He'll say, I have trained against Vicus specifically many times. He is a different type of fighter, to say the least. Agile, nimble, and tries to blindside you constantly. It's very frustrating. Sometimes it is good to let some aggressions out and just go all out against the foe. Does not simply dodge away and try to backstab you constantly.
Then there's Ceres, who I have not been told, I believe is some sort of spellcaster.
Odds.
She does not show the same affliction Vickers shows, which clearly hints at a similar background. I would assume that her talent is natural.
Yes. She is a sorceress of a prestigious lineage. And she has quite a lot of talent in the magical arts. I wouldn't duel against her. That would simply be me trying to rush her. And she's simply trying to run away.
And blinding everyone in the room. Some comments from Brian.
And blowing up a dock.
She's really destructive in a fight, isn't she?
She has an appetite for mass destruction, which I find highly useful. But also the collateral damage tends to escalate quite a bit when she's around. As for Steel, well, I haven't really seen her in a fight much, but I believe she is quite capable if she so desires. Mainly, Squints would have guessed some sort of a sorcerer as well, but she seemed more book learned than Ceres. While Ceres does a lot of talent and innate ability, and gut feeling, Seal is more studied, calculating. We shall see.
I have to admit I can't make sense of her.
She is odd, but she has proven herself useful so far, and while for now that is enough. Amanas will put the gear down. He'll pick up a towel and dry the sweat, and then he will go and probably have a bath or something to limber up after the training. Some Geralt style bathtub.
Of course.
I mean, Arkland and Torin can have their baths as well if they so desire. Perhaps especially Arkland, because I feel he's probably pretty bruised.
Yeah. It's rough training as Amnis. He'll definitely need a bit of a quick R&R.
Yeah.
I mean, Dragonborn probably don't sweat, right? Huge advantage.
Is technically true, they probably don't.
He just overheats instead.
He needs to lay in the shadow on a cold rock for a while.
Excuse me, I need to find a basement to set in for a while.
I mean, worst case, Ceres can produce ice.
A huge ice block for him to sit on.
Do you just pant instead? Like, are you like warm-blooded reptile? You don't sweat, you just try and cool yourself down.
Dragons have warm-blooded, I think. Pretty sure.
Well, that's what usually frills are for most.
Oh.
So like dissipate heat.
Interesting question. Are Dragonborns warm blood or cold blood? Who knows?
I think they're warm, right?
I
Though
would
given
assume.
Given the fact that this one is cold aligned,
You know.
Well,
It's true.
We need to take to Twitter to sage advice and find out.
for the time being, though, it is not hyper important which one is the answer.
Indeed.
Yeah, actually, the worst case for Torin, if he does really need to cool down, he could just get a bath. He could just get a bathtub, breath weapon it. Could be good.
It's true.
Creatures.
Yeah.
Armor or similar.
To seem feverish to a human touch.
Alright, so he's steaming hot.
You know, that's what some people say.
Still don't know if he sweats though.
Who knows?
Chances are probably not, because lizards would.
I don't know. Again, sage advice. Does Dragonborn sweat?
Maybe that's why
Winter
dragons have
weapon.
breath weapons, just they can release all the fire that way.
Just ask all the bars, they'll probably know.
Yeah, and ask Ed Greenwood or someone for a source book clearing this up.
Can we get an errata on this?
Yes, please.
Maybe a copy of Dragon magazine can help us.
Yeah. It's been a huge fight at our gaming table for several nights in a row.
Oh, God.
Over the very important question of if Dragonborn sweat.
Yep. Barely speak to each other anymore.
So many sleepless nights.
Alright, I will be right back.
Now, Ivor, at some point in the afternoon, whenever Seal does wake herself up,
Yeah.
what would her routine be?
I mean, after like eating, I guess she will do like practices, like singing, acrobatics, that kind of stuff, and
Okay,
then
so-
just lazy around in the sofa.
Okay, so mild music practice followed by just more lounging.
I guess she will use some of her time to send a letter for certain Eve. If you want to have a date.
Anywhere in particular you'd like to ask them to go? Any kind of locale?
No, not really. No, nothing shady. It's the only recommend. Or nothing with Inquisition.
That's good.
But yeah, like still, like usually, if not needed, just lazy goes around or sleeps. But she can also, give her Arklan like a medicine check to patch him up. Unpracticed healing.
Oh boy. Again, you are very good at medicine, but
But he's not practiced with the healer skills, so it's unpracticed.
so note to self, the group's doctor is now definitely not a vampire.
No, she's not a vampire.
I said definitely not a vampire.
It's a good
Patience
profession to
will-
have.
She's a, professional and expert with medicine house.
I'm just saying, I've heard of some people in like joint professions. Singer, songwriter, acrobat, doctor.
I mean, you need to have an options when you're on the road. You need to have options.
Point is, point is usually most of those in the bardic arts just try to like busk for money on the road. You've clearly gone a different route.
I mean,
Nothing wrong with that.
she doesn't want money, so that's the problem in there.
Yeah. But just in general, though, if anyone, it's quite easy to find Seal. It sounds like she's just lounging around somewhere.
Yeah, reading the latest gossip.
Perhaps enjoying a nice book.
Yeah, it's a smart book.
Ooh. Well, we'll probably handle the exact details of your date with Eve if there's anything you wish to gain from that separately.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of things, but we can handle that in the background.
As that'll be very much a one-on-one thing in general.
Yeah.
As my understanding, you are not bringing the entire house along to ambush her.
No.
You're just going up for dinner.
Yeah. I guess Ciel will, look for Thorin at some point
Oh.
later in the night or evening. Oh, Thorin. Pleasant to see you in this cloudy sky, cloudy night, cloudy evening.
Hello.
So, are you now part of the King's Court directly? for specific reasons.
It depends whether you're asking about my perceived association or political semantics.
I guess first one. Yes, let's go with first one.
I intend to stay in his vicinity as long as it benefits me, and as long as my presence obviously benefits him. I have not sworn any oath yet, although I may do so if he indeed turns out to be the kind of character I have made educated guesses about that he is. Much of my final decision also depends on the people that he associates himself with.
Mostly he seems to associate with great people. But you seem to be like at the moment, freelancer like me. Or waiting a position.
That would be an apt description.
I'm just, let's say, curious about the thing that I should not ask, because I know it will anger the king. And that would be poor for my reputation, which is already poor in a certain degree. But, curiosity is what kills the cat. If the cat is killed, ever.
I'm not familiar with that phrase. However, what is it that you think would anger the king?
Well, depends how you answer. Would be you willing, give me a taste, a drop of your blood? I haven't, seen a Dragonborn before. It's a curiosity. I don't know what you want as a return things. I wouldn't take it, without giving you something.
There are no uses I can think of that you might have with my blood that would benefit me in any palpable way, so my answer is no.
Yeah, thought so. Still right. Oh well.
Do not try to take it from me through any means whatsoever.
Oh no, I'm not that kind of girl.
Your question, however, confuses me. I can't exactly make sense of you in general.
I try to be mischievous for a purpose. And she, pulls a little bit her lips apart, showing her fangs.
I see.
So I'm not a vampire, no. Just a half-breed, I guess. Misfortunate, cursed, whatever description fits you.
You seem intent on embracing your curse and making the best of it. I do not think anyone who would hate that particular heritage would go around asking for others' blood to taste.
I don't hate it. I am unsure if I want to embrace it. Currently, this gives me a different type of freedom that I didn't have.
Perhaps then you could practice discipline and not ask people for their blood to taste because you're curious.
True, I could. I don't need your blood. But I can understand why you see my offer as an insult. I apologize for that.
I did not take your question as an insult, I just took it as being very strange and inappropriate.
But I apologize it for being inappropriate. But, I can promise you, I will not force it out.
You couldn't if you tried.
That's true. At least not in melee fight. But I don't want to even try.
Now it is my turn to be curious. Why is it that you, too, follow Amanus? I've heard that you've only joined his retinue recently, and while he does seem to respect your talents, I don't know what those are.
I'm what we would refer to a bard of illusions or lore. And my main is illusions, but I think Amanas allows me to be in his presence because he finds me useful. And I think that goes for Lady Ceres too. As how I ended here, I had a unfortunate accident at a sea level when I was going here in the justices area to perform, and I got caught by the Sahagins, and one thing led to another with Vikas.
I see. So you've made the spontaneous decision to follow him because he benefits you.
I think Amanas benefits me directly, but I think Amanas can benefit from me. I'm more maybe interested to see where the road takes. Though I have my ambitions, but they are currently not told for purposes. So, in the certain things, it has to do with the curse. My family wants to break it.
But you don't. You seem undecided.
I am undecided.
That seems to be perhaps a question you should answer for yourself sooner rather than later.
I mean, the problem is that I don't know the right question.
It seems like a straightforward question to me. Is this curse beneficial to me or not?
Well, curse is a reference thing, but it's not a curse literally. It's more complicated.
I don't see it. It either is a curse or not. That should be an easy question to answer. If you call yourself an part entertainer, part scholar, then surely you can research.
Oh, I know what it is. But Amanas would certainly call it a curse because it comes from the bloodline of vampirism. As for my family calls it a curse, and I call it my bloodline, my heritage, which is how you want to weight it, good or bad thing.
One's heritage is important.
To agree, but this is an ancient one, an old one, so I'm just misfortunate to have it.
Does it cause you any inconvenience?
Yes,
Other than your public perception?
yes.
Then it is a curse. Your question is answered.
I mean, it comes with its own benefits.
Do the benefits outweigh the inconvenience?
In a fight, they do. In a normal life, they can. In a public view, if I'm talented enough. In my personal life, I don't know.
I don't envy your predicament.
You don't need to.
I don't intend to.
That is good. You are very direct and I love it.
Is there anything else you want?
I mean, any good stories from where you are from? as a performer reasons.
I have stories, but none that I wish to tell. I do not want to appear as if I've joined Amanus's court to spill information about my home that he may use to his advantage. I've delivered myself, but if I can avoid seeming like fond of information of a foreign, in the past partially hostile nation to the nation that he wishes to rule, I would rather not talk about it. Besides, I don't think many of my stories would be very entertaining.
I mean, war stories are always entertaining. People love them. But
People
I
love
can
the
understand.
idea of war, not war itself.
That is true. But I shall not bother your presence any longer. If you don't have anything for me.
I will have undoubtedly more questions in the future, but for now I will simply observe you from a distance.
Well, you are free to ask whoever wake me up for those questions. And Cielo walks away, skipping away happily.
As the rest of us are wondering if Torrens become more or less confused.
Oh, Torrens wondering that himself.
But who knew we gained such a philosophically blunt Dragonborn? Interesting.
No, it's either a curse or it's not. That's. How do you not know? Oh.
The idea that it can be both is just completely alien to Torn. It's like, what? How is that even possible? Like, you make no sense.
I love this. It's an interesting change in mindsets. Time for the group will pass over the coming kind of hours and then coming day. You having your scheduled ship ride out of here, kind of all planned. Your character having time though if you want to quickly stock up any supplies, buy souvenirs, wine, whatever you'd want to. But otherwise, just to relax for a couple of days before you get to head back. Or in Amsa's case, drive himself nuts with nothing to do.
Out of curiosity, could I check what a mithril armor would cost at this point?
You could ask around. What particular mithril armor are you going for?
I mean, that's splint, I guess.
Mithril splint? You are free to try and find some if you would like.
Do you want help?
Splint is good because he can wear it under his normal clothes and it's not suspicious.
No, that's Shane, I think.
As both thought.
No, splint definitely
It's
can't be
breastplate and Shane, right?
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah,
chain or breast. Yeah, fair enough. Wait, splint? Okay, yeah. No, I guess splint can't. Never mind that.
Do you want some 8 for looking around?
Feel free to give me a persuasion roll if you would like, though. If you can ask around the markets.
I mean, if she doesn't have anything better to do, she
doesn't. You see her sleeping around.
She's lounging on your couch.
Oh, good.
Sleeping around. No, I'm kidding.
Whoa!
I mean, if that's the king wants, can't go for it. Once.
Easy to sneak a bite in.
No. She's not that kind of girl.
I don't know. Her constant insistence that she's not makes me suspicious.
Totally not.
I mean, you are suspicious already, so you have a biased view.
It's true.
Don't try to philosophize your way out of this, miss.
I won't.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Oh, wow, okay.
Maximum persuasion!
Well, you definitely find a buyer. Or a seller, I should say. currently the cheapest Amulet is able to find for himself, looking around the markets.
Hmm.
You can find a suit currently going for about 380.
Oh, you know what?
Remember, I owe you, so I will pay. I remember I got some money too. I will throw in whatever you need. How
You know
much do you
what?
need?
I can pay for it.
I'll pay. How much was it, Dark?
380.
I'll pay 180. You pay the rest.
Okay, take it.
As you manage to find this, there's essentially shops set up, from what you can tell, by a group of like adventurers.
Yes.
It looks like it's a group where they have no one who wears heavy armor.
Ah, yes. Well,
So they're trying to pull it off.
yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, they get a good deal. All right, Amnas will buy the splint, the mithril plate.
Yep.
And
So
he will get this gift wrapped question mark. Like he wants to package it up and bring it back to Sorakai on the sly. Because this will be part of the set of items that he will gift to Arkland once he swears his oath of fealty to him. Like this will be, his gear, his symbol of office.
You can have if you would wish, Lady Serena can quietly get that aboard the ship and have that wrapped up for you.
Yep. And probably will if we can get like some smith or someone, I don't know, probably very special training to work with mithril, but do some a little bit of engravings and stuff on it to more make it Amanas's royal seal, the phoenix symbol. It basically just personalize it a bit.
yeah.
Just going for engravings, it's something that should be doable.
Yep.
It might actually be something Raiden might be able to actually do for you.
Sweet.
Oh yeah, Raiden.
But yeah, so 200 off you.
Yep. I have
180
taken,
from me. That should be.
I've taken it off. Excellent. Most excellent.
As I will add to the ship's cargo 1 gift-wrapped mithril splint.
Yep.
On that same line, since Ceres isn't here, before they leave, Vicus would want to send a letter to the man that Ceres found that we offered to come back to Sorkai as an extension of implementing his thesis work. Yes, the professor in like stone shaping or whatever he's doing. Just to remind them that we're leaving soon, and now it's the chance that he wishes to win.
That can be arranged.
Great.
Is Vicus becoming the secretary now, sending out letters to people?
And part of his job is indeed doing that, even though I don't say it. So he's just taking over, responsibilities.
Hand of the king, secretary of the king, how it goes.
I mean, Vicus's job is what everyone else doesn't do, honestly. So it's his job to make sure nothing gets forgotten.
I mean, officially, that's a great title, the Royal Secretary. That the secretary can like murder people.
Yeah, the secretary that looks like a devil.
Vicus has had it tough, all right? He has lost everything. He's getting senile. He can barely move anymore. This is a cushy job for him to take it easy, just sort of ride out to retirement, all right? No one expects anything of him. He's just a harmless old man, just writing some papers. The cover story.
Who may or may not be able to kill you with a ballpoint pen.
I mean, but we don't say that. That's right. With a pen, you attack, you get a full sneak attack with like 76. It's like, oh!
Finesse pen.
I mean, I would argue, like, a quill or something would count as a finesse weapon. So.
Do the Dark Knight Joker thing of making the pen disappear.
It's, I don't even need a pen. I am a weapon.
The point is, it's a very dramatic threat though to kill someone with the writing implement.
Oh, indeed.
Perhaps overly dramatic, but still potentially useful.
Maybe.
But let us start for business. The time here at Port Silversword will begin to come to an end. As the group will be slowly ushered to pack their things and head down to the port after a couple of days, where a rather nice-looking vessel, though this one more of a passenger vessel than your original one you were on, sits awaiting your group to get aboard. It's a relatively smaller ship as well, but again, perhaps they're not showing as much of a flaunt of wealth on the way back as they were on the way there. The point's been made across at this point. Hardly seems like Amnes needs more wealth in his face to try and impress him. But it's a nice enough ship. Amnes has his own little private cabin.
Yay.
Most of the others are sharing a cabin.
Yep.
As you can begin your leisurely boat ride back. Ceres, for some reason, being rather distracted over these last couple of days before this, from what you've been able to tell, out on a date with Captain Estinian again.
Actually.
Young love.
Social maneuvering is so time consuming.
Yeah. People just knew how much money and effort it takes to be this easy.
As you're on your way back through the several days it would take, it's a multi-day voyage to try and travel this distance. Amnes at some point, what would Amnes do on a ship? Is he okay on ships? Is he used to them?
He probably was on a lot of pleasure cruises back in the day. I don't think he gets seasick. You feel with serious purpose for that. He mainly, he'll do his daily training routines and whatnot. Take some opportunity to just, practice while on a ship because that's a type of fighting environment. But he's fine on a ship. He is probably rather bored on the ship home. Spend some time, talking and conspiring with Vickers or the other members of the court as would be suitable. But I don't have anything in particular to bring up.
Okay.
Oh no! Don't turn Vickers like that. That looks very weird to me now.
That wasn't me.
Oh. Oh, much better.
That's why I don't show my other side to anyone unless they're about to die.
Very scary.
As you and Vickers perhaps are in discussions then, chatting in one of your cabins.
Yep.
You actually get a knock on the door.
Hmm.
Come in.
As you see the rather towering figure of Lady Serena step inside. Tall, very tall, but elegant as always as she heads inside. Though, perhaps how rocky the ship has been the last couple of days, the heels are not always the best choice.
They get stuck between the boards.
How tall is she exactly?
What was Lady Serena's height again?
It's like 6 something, 7 something.
7?
No, she's not
Inches.
7, but she is.
What I mean.
But she is. Was it
7
6'4"?
feet? Yeah, man, that is a lot of lady.
I think elves could get that tall.
She's like 6'3", 6'4", I think.
Okay, yeah, she's a tall lady, taller than
think-
Amnes in that case.
Taller than what? If you're way taller than Vickers. Vickers is a bit small.
Lots of leg.
Indeed.
Legs up to here. Yes.
Or at least that's how how she tries to advertise it as a
Okay, I see.
Sure, sure.
where she's going. Look, she knows exactly how to try and take advantage of her.
Indeed, indeed.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
All right.
Excuse my interruption, would you both, my liege?
Nods graciously as he sips from his tankard.
She kind of slips herself inside and gently closes the door behind her, leaning against the wall. This has been quite the interesting couple of days' travel.
Say the least.
And from what I overheard, it seems you've now got a royal visit on your hands.
Vickers kind of sighs a little. Says, "Yes, it seems that the dear Duchess will be visiting us."
Have you thought about a kind of venue for her, or any kind of entertainment that you'd want? I know it's not only been a few days, but it's like we do have to, given we only have a short time span. It's like the group will have to. It's like we'll have to arrange quickly.
Amnes just sort of stares at her. He has not thought of any venues or entertainments. He rarely does.
Admittedly, that was the last thing on my mind, which is why you so graciously are here to remind us.
I
What a-
thought as much.
I would imagine we would need something relatively extravagant.
Well, we currently lack in many amenities that would impress her, unsurprisingly. You got a fairly new city.
Amnes grunts and says, I fail to see how anything we could produce would impress her in the lavish part. Seeing her mansion was quite excessive and extravagant. I don't think we can produce anything similar. Rather,
And that's why we don't try to impress her in that department.
he nods. I agree.
You have two assets at your advantage that we can use here. Firstly, the city itself. Sorkai is such a magical city, such a unknown in itself. There's got the magic of the place, the magic hidden within the walls of the place. There's got to be something there we can use to spark her attention.
Nods.
An air of mystery, though, keep in mind.
Oh, yes, of course.
Alternatively, if you want to try and get her, if you really want to try and push this military side, I suppose you could try to, well, you could always try to demonstrate your ability with troops, I suppose.
I mean, you have some troops.
Vickers thinks for a second.
A
Says,
martial contest may not be flashy, but it does send a good message of what you want to be.
we need her confidence, but we also need to show what we are capable of, but not all we are capable of. Showing our forces is good for military strength, and it shows what Amanus stands for. However, the element of mystery beyond what Sorkai can offer is perhaps a more alluring diplomatic option. I'm sure she has seen battle, she has seen troops, but she has not seen Sorkai.
That is the most promising one if you can find something there to show.
Well, the city is yet to be properly catalogued. Sure, there is something.
There is something we could try and find. It would be hard pressed to clear it out before she arrives, but it could be done. No doubt we'll find something of interest in there.
Well, I'm glad I was able to inspire ideas for you then.
As thoughtful as always, Lady Serena.
Now, if it's not too forward, my liege, I have a more personal question I wish to ask. It's a mere matter of curiosity, you understand.
Eyes thin dangerously.
Have you considered if you plan to marry, my liege?
Amanas looks at her, takes her in for a good 3 seconds, and then he says between gritted teeth, "Get out."
She simply nods, does not say a word more, does not push it, and will leave.
Before she leaves, like just as she's about to turn, Vicus Vicus has a very bemused look in his face, which quickly fades to his normal mask of neutrality as Amulet perhaps turns back.
Food visibly soured. Grumble, grumble,
Well.
grumble.
Vicus kind of leaves the question hanging in the air for a sec.
Amanas looks at him, and then his eyes wide as surprise and says, "You can't be serious."
Vicus shrugs and says, "There's not much time for me in this world, and you, well, you'll follow a few decades after. It's a good idea to be thinking about your future prospects." He's smiling as he says this. He is very amused at this topic.
Amanas has a grimace on his face, like he's just swallowed a whole lemon, you know, and like.
Ama's not ready for that topic yet.
No. He's not. No, he doesn't even have he doesn't even have a kingdom to inherit yet. Marriage. Why I oughta.
Your reaction regardless of news, Lady Serena.
Oh, I bet.
You didn't get her any juicy gossip out of that, but still, it was amusing for her, so...
She was clearly reaching for something to use.
Oh yeah, she is clearly provoking here.
Oh, she got it.
Lady better be careful.
But it's that ability to poke buttons, though, which is exactly why she's hired.
Exactly. She does her job well.
How does Torin handle the sea? Has he ever been on a boat before, do you think? He's always land off. Has he ever been involved in naval operations?
I don't think so. I don't remember the map you shared.
There wasn't a lot of water in the whole area in general you're looking at.
Yeah, I don't. He's not used to this. I think he would not handle it well at all, but try to pretend that it's fine.
Stoic expression while perhaps just staying out near the bow.
Just hands gripping the railing, like knuckles whitening.
You know, his fighting style is very much that of being like this immovable object. But how do you do that when the ground is moving?
Bizarre.
It's grotesque. This macabre. Just ground's supposed to be solid, damn it.
You know, it's rocking back and forth. Some points rather violently in the wind. It laps over wave after wave.
He goes overboard. How is he so? He plummeted like a rock. Terrible.
How's CL meanwhile, out of curiosity? Because we've not seen her either out to sea yet.
As I told, CL is just dancing, doing like acrobatics in there, and singing hardy sailor songs.
So very much in the background of Torin shot, we just see all of this going on.
Yeah, and see that there's like those her trick, like walking to the mast, like in direct line, singing and dancing. You know, she's purposely giving a show.
Get those sea shanties going.
Oh yeah, there
If
are
you
a
would
lot
like, you
of
can
sea
even give
turtles.
me a performance check to try and earn money.
Oh yeah.
Cash in.
Maybe the crew wants to give you a tip.
It's also robotic.
What is that symbol?
Music in your mouth. You're singing.
How does that work?
So
Wow.
26
Oh.
in acrobatics and sailor
Damn.
songs.
I'd say 18. Okay. 26. Okay, that's a lot better. You can take for yourself over the several days of voyage. 7 golden tips.
Ooh.
Not bad.
Yeah, that's
Gotta make that grind.
pretty decent. See, but I guess she will also ask Thorin if she needs medical aidance, just in case.
As she
Oh,
swings, as she swings
Grunt
past.
in response.
Hmm.
She just shrugs, goes back to dancing. You see, like also like with her like dances and acrobatics, a lot of like illusions just like move with her. She's like always like a paints a picture, and she like dances and sings. Whatever topic like she sings, there's always like a minor illusion moving like with her. Because that is her talent.
Interesting. And Vickers, meanwhile, is just, from what it sounds like, just enjoying himself.
What would Vickers be
Not
doing?
a spy to look for on a ship.
No, but the people, however, on a ship, actually, in the course of the time that they're sailing,
Mhm.
Vickers is very good at keeping himself hidden when he wants to be, and yet, everyone in the court themselves and everyone following, and perhaps some people on the ship will notice that Vickers, at either some point in the day or the night or the evening, just for a brief moment, they will be aware that he has been at least watching them for a period of time before they notice him. He has been, how would I say, ever since they have left, there's almost a urgent sense of hyper vigilance around him. The drive behind that might have been the passing of Zed, but there might be other reasons behind it too. That said, though, it's quite obvious that he is very actively spying on people while they're sailing here. There's nowhere for him really to go, and so he turns his attention to who's on the ship.
Just a general spying on what everyone's up to.
Yeah, everyone, there's no exclusion here. It's every single person, including his own cohorts here.
The local sailors seem infatuated by Ciel's performance. But as far as you can tell, most of them appear to be just kind of your very generic sailors.
Yeah.
Not particularly military trained. They're mostly just civilians. They've been paid to, sail their ship up here and drop you off. So that's what they're doing. The captain seems fairly unremarkable to you as well, seemingly just kind of almost like a sailor in a kind of a ship captain, a bit of a dead end position of like, oh, I just keep getting hired for like basic like transport jobs. Okay. Which, I mean, nice and cushy and safe, but also like,
Yeah.
not a lot of advancement. Just being a courier. As for the rest of the crew, you already know how bad Torin is suffering,
Yes.
and Amnes just being a grump. As for the others, Lady Serena is doing her normal of just kind of almost competing with Ciel for the sailors' attention.
I see.
They both have they both have their charisma in very different forms to use.
Right.
You also just notice her like spreading and just listening to gossip. We are gossiping completely inane things that don't really matter or anything, but she's keeping herself entertained. There's not a lot else she can do. It's also difficult for her to practice her craft aboard the ship with it moving so much. As much as she would love to set up a loom and start working, not the easiest thing with the ship rocking.
Like an anti-gravity loom or something.
Sadly, does not exist.
No.
The harder people on the ship to spy on is definitely Kieran and your own apprentice, Theo.
Indeed.
Theo, partly because you think Theo's doing the exact same thing you are.
That's good.
Sometimes it's easy enough to see him, but then other times it's just very hard to track him down because he just starts snooping around on the ship. No malicious intent, just snooping around and just keeping an eye on people.
Yeah.
He likes people watching. Something Vickers just does as his job anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of a learned habit to the point it's just passive now. He just does it when he's doing nothing else.
As for the warlock in your presence,
Yeah.
he appears just to be kind of chilling for the most part. He doesn't seem to particularly like being on the ship, though he's not as bad as Torin is.
Right.
But for the most part, though, he's just kind of sitting down in kind of the mess with whatever alcohol he can get hold of. And just not like heavily drinking, just kind of lightly drinking and just boredly looking out the window.
Well, as long as he's not causing trouble, that's fine.
He doesn't appear to be causing any trouble. You've not sensed any dark magic from him since he's been aboard.
That's good.
If he has been using dark magic, you haven't seen it. The only magic you've witnessed from him is the odd prestidigitation,
Indeed.
which is probably acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah's uses this so often that like Vickers has just figured that is just a normal magic trick to the point that it's just commonplace.
It's like, Karen spills a drink, it's like sighs, just waves his hand slightly.
Yeah.
The drink cleans up. Zara, meanwhile, has been out on an open section of the deck on multiple days of the journey back, practicing her swordplay because her stances and such. She doesn't have a target, but she can still practice the formations.
Right.
For the safety of the crew, not igniting Frozenheim, her flaming sword, seems like a bad thing to ignite on the ship.
Yep.
Yeah, she's, for the most part, though, it's just that and her clearly keeping an eye on her brother still.
Probably really distracted, I guess, with all that going on.
There's a little more. There are limits to what she can do aboard a ship like this,
Yeah.
especially given the fact that she is not spying on the rest of the crew like you are. She could, but she's specifically choosing not to. Given the recent situation, she doesn't see it's in her best interest to spy on everyone.
Right.
There's not much to report from the princess front, unless you include the fact that Charlotte's apparently summoned an owl familiar while aboard.
A what? Sorry?
An owl familiar.
Oh, wow.
A white, snowy owl.
That's useful.
That's the case. That case she Like when Vickers first meets, it probably just stares just at him through the window.
I think this is like Vickers' first time seeing a familiar, actually.
It appears to be a small, white, fluffy owl. You can see a slight glowing rune on its chest, very reminiscent of some of the runes you've seen Charlotte draw in the air.
You'll have to make a note to ask her about that later.
Because she hasn't used her find familiar yet. So
No.
she has time to practice it, given she's a border ship. What else is she going to do for the next couple of days? I mean, she can read. She's playing books. That's about it. The general ride as a result being relatively quite quiet and quite peaceful as you kind of head through the icy shallows and passing. Well, now you have a good chance to look at them. Yeah, rather tremendous mountains you're kind of sailing past towards your home. It is, after all, considered the crown of the world for a reason. On land, they're a pain to get past, and in the water, the amount of ice around here makes it a pain to sail through. A small ship like this can do it no problem, or an expert captain like Castilian can do it, but not the easiest thing for trade ship to get through. Not impossible, but not the easiest either. So, how do you stop icebergs? Let's see. Yoshi, can you give me a D12? Can have you roll. A 2. Okay. The sailing back goes fairly uneventful for the most part, and actually, as you start making your way towards what is the ruined kind of port dockyard on the far side of your area, of your territory, the weather is beginning to warm up quite a bit. You're kind of exiting the last months of spring, early months of kind of you're in the early months of summer kind of area. It's kind of warming up a bit, as much as it can warm up in this region, where it's still very cold, but it's warmer than normal. Not that perhaps Amanus cares, given I believe Amanus has a magic item protecting him from the cold anyway. At this point.
Yeah.
And it seems like most of the NPCs, of course, in question, they kind of knew exactly what they were getting in for, so they have multiple layers to their walk for when they disembark. For the others, though, what you witness, Torin probably does not care too much about the cold either, I imagine.
No, if anything, it could be a bit colder.
But you end up arriving back, in the Highlands territory which you control, as you see dotted around the various old ruins of what used to be, an elven port here. You can see the remnants of old statues here at the port, remnants of old buildings, most of which are all rubble at this point. There is you're kind of docking at this kind of concrete dock that's partly decaying. It survived surprisingly well over the last couple hundred years, but it's slowly decaying into the sea without anyone maintaining it. The crew of the ship seem very unhappy with being here and want to leave soon. That's to be no surprise, though, of how cold it is.
Well, I mean, we have a little reason to linger. We'll just disembark, get our stuff, and trot back to Sorakai.
That
Yep.
is fair.
Gil and Torin can marvel at the incredibleness of the city as we approach.
Yes. As what your characters both see as you head kind of through this kind of very untamed wilderness, eventually ends at seeing this marvelous, compared to all the ruins, huge elven city sitting. Well, when I say huge, it's a small elven city overall, I suppose, but it's still a remarkable sight, seeing it kind of jut out of the side of these kind of tall, jagged, teeth-like mountains. These beautiful kind of white walls covered in a variety of runes that gently glow. A sense of magic just looking at them. And you also notice just this entire city, almost just the top of the walls, there's no snow on it. Around like the front gate, the snow seemed to have all melted, even though it's not melted anywhere else. The entire place seems well manned. You see a number of troops moving along the walls, a couple of ballistae setting up there, aiming out, ready to shoot if anything came close. And a lot of just general hustle and activity. You can even see what appears to be a couple of caravans pulling up from a separate road to attempting to get into the city as you approach. More notably, as you approach as well, jutting out from the city is this massive kind of curled spire, jutting out from the back of it, covered partly in ice, but gently. You can kind of see magical runes all over it, gently pulsating. Very much an architectural style which neither of your characters would have really seen before, this being high elven architecture that no one's really seen in hundreds of years.
I think Thornwell will turn to Amanus and say, so far my purpose has always been to prevent the creation of more ruins. It seems that in the near future it will be the re-establishment of this one. I do have to ask, what happened to the previous inhabitants? I'm not versed in the history.
We'll, look ahead as they trot along, and he will say, I am not sure. Don't exactly know. City was, as far as we can understand it, abandoned many squints 100 years ago or so. The elves, the high elves, that is, decided to retreat into themselves, cut all bands with the outside world, and only speak to us through courtly emissaries that they sent to, also spies and wizards. The high elves has a strong monopoly on arcane magic. Most of the world's wizards come from their ranks, as I understand it, and a ruler who wishes to have magic at their disposal would have to accept one of their emissaries as courtly advisors and spies. But actual activity outside of their own realm or holdings outside of their High Elven kingdom seem to have been abandoned. These spies remain in our lands and other lands as far as I know. His motions towards Sorakai. There were also monsters, gnolls, and other creatures that encroached on the city. Perhaps it, combined with everything, was too difficult to hold for them, or it no longer served a purpose. For us, however, it has become an very interesting and potentially useful base of operations. We are outside any other duchy or count's lands, while still remaining fairly close, and it is unique. It has prestige.
Interesting. appears to be an awful adjective to use for one's headquarters. If anything, it should be boring,
Got that.
steadfast, reliable.
Kai has not been tested under such conditions yet. I have had my doubts for picking the place, but given what we are working with, this was the best we had at the time, and I think it is the best we still have. The city is a wonder of architecture, as far as I can tell, and it still has many secrets we have not unraveled. Until we have, well, unlocked whatever mysteries remains in these old elven halls, I think we will remain here for a while. It gives an exotic location to hold court and adds to the mystery and the prestige of our group.
Something that would be abundantly clear to Torin, which likely explains why it went abandoned for so long. Well, Torin, you don't really care about the cold very much. The bitter cold around this place, even in summertime, even compared to a lot of northern kind of counties, would be very unhospitable to anyone who does not know the lay of the land well.
I don't think that even occurs to him that the cold is a problem.
Well, perhaps you just know from the fact of knowing that of watching human troops freeze to death before.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe.
Even though to you, it's like you don't get it. It's like, oh, this is fine.
Amlas will keep musing, and he will say, I think the biggest weakness of Sorakai is its relative placement. It is far in the north. The cold makes it difficult to grow or handle any form of cattle or farming. We rely solely on importing such goods. Which means that we must rely on allies. If our neighbors were to turn on us, say Freyfrost, there would be much trouble. Luckily, Freyfrost has very little reason to do so. In fact, the ruler of Freyfrost views us as her closest allies, and she has. It is planned that she will swear fealty directly to me in her upcoming coronation, as thanks for us delivering her land from an inquisitional punitive force that was overreaching in its authority, mildly.
I see. It'll have to do. If there are mysteries left, then those should be explored as soon as possible. Underground passages could be disastrous.
No. There was gnolls infesting the city, but as far as we can tell, they arrived through the front gates. They had an elven blood witch with them, which I think unlocked the place. In actual battle conditions, I believe the city would hold very well, since a sieging army would simply freeze to death, and the walls are tall and sturdy. But I believe your military expertise might some interesting insights to the defenses. Perhaps you can indeed find obvious problems and not so obvious ones that we have missed.
The greatest threat against your quest, I think, would be that of individuals infiltrating, not that of armies arriving.
Yes, for as long as we remain here, I agree.
That and, of course, the political wranglings that need to be done for you to exert any sort of power. Of course, your territory, the territory that you claim, has to be more than a single city eventually, which brings with it logistical problems. I do not think that armies clashing against armies will happen in the near future, but it will be paramount if you want to truly reach your goal.
We have had a small field test of our forces already at the Battle of Freyfrost. We executed that pretty well, I think. But it was in comparatively a small battle. Couple hundred troops per side or so.
The people living in the city, why did they arrive?
We offered opportunities up in the north. Some promise of how would you say it? Like, not tax exemptions exactly, but offers of opening a shop. There are lots of empty buildings and such here, and they could claim one of these if they also swore to pay taxes and produce for the community.
Essentially, settlers' rights.
Yeah, settlers' rights. The troops are the ones that fought with us for the Battle of Freyfrost and choose to stay. They all had a choice to return Freyfrost or to come with us up to Sorokai, and most of them came with us, which is very gratifying.
I see.
And
Promising start as expected.
yes, and as the rumor of the wonders of this place and as the rumors of our exploits increase, more and more people will arrive and would wish to settle and be close to Sorokai. We are working on clearing the roads, upgrading the guardhouses and whatnot on the way down towards Freyfrost.
Would be even more enticing if these mysteries and rumors were actual palpable truths. If this is an ancient elven city full of arcane magic, perhaps there's something that can be exploited.
As we pass within the influence of the city, perhaps Torin will feel some of that magic. Temperature will rise sharply.
Yes, as suddenly it goes from being a very bitter cold that would kill the average human if they stayed up for too long to being actually kind of a comfortable temperature. It's not hot, but it's livable for the average person.
Smiles slightly and says, "Oh yes, there is a measure of weather control built into the magic of the city. It never freezes."
Perhaps that magic could be expanded to a greater range, so that the adjacent areas could be found.
Nods. Yes, I have been thinking about that as well. Ceres has promised to look into it. Currently, the power is maintained by a series of runes by one of our court mages. Powerful ice witch. He waves a hand. The city, as I understand it, is operating on reserve power. It has more. The enchantments in the walls and the buildings can unlock more effects. As you say, expanding the areas for farming or magical defenses. But we don't have enough power to fuel all of it yet.
There's also the question of side effects. Magic, as far as I'm aware, is not... I don't know much about magic, but magic this powerful surely has some effect on the people who are exposed to it permanently. Or could, anyways. There are many questions around this city, many of which I will be unable to help with. However, the few things that I will be able to help with, I will be the best person to do so. My skill set is narrow, all things considered, but in the things I do, I consider myself the best. And if not the best, the one willing to become the best. For now, I assume that with settlers and morale being high, there might not be much crime yet. That might appear. That might be an area where I could help with. Alternatively, of course, if in the near future you intend or expect to get involved in warfare, even if it is just minor skirmishes, that is certainly something that I've experience with, especially in these conditions. Although I cannot promise that I can translate my aptitude for these conditions to whatever troops you have available.
As nods, he thinks. You can see the gears working. Says, yes, the right person on the right position is paramount to success. Been the failing of many empires before and current. If you have a particularly narrow skill set that you're an expert in, and we have a available or a position on the council for it, I would be willing to give you that position as a test run to see what you can do with it. So yeah, what position do you have in mind for Torin? I assume then warden or general from what you said.
Marshal or warden here. Like, he would... just looking at the skills required for either position.
Yeah.
He has very good insight, which would be for the warden position, and he has very good athletics. Although his insight will surpass his athletics because he has expertise in it.
I think currently warden, because we talked a little bit about this as well, and we're not close to a war currently. We think.
Depending on how the coronation ceremony goes, potentially either very likely or not at all likely to go to war.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think warden is a pretty good position for him. It also allows him to get to know the city and its people better, and he can sort of, poke around as much as he wants without anyone really.
Day-to-day operations, lawmaking, dealing with general criminal cases, as well as just dealing with general internal security issues. So making sure that, intruders don't get into places such as like important governmental buildings or such when they shouldn't.
Rooting out spies a little bit, perhaps. Yeah. Basically.
Essentially, you are the top of like you are kind of like the head of the guards and also like a pointer of judges.
I think that would be a position that would suit him. It's definitely one of the two that I had in mind when I made the character.
Yeah, I think we can start with the warden then, and then as things develop, or as Torin finds himself interested in particular parts, or if something else pops up, we can switch positions.
Yeah, in a mechanical sense, the positions are flexible. You're not stuck in there. It's you do for your period of time, and then you decide what you want to do for the next period of time. So
the council, as it stands, your cabinet can be reshuffled later if needed.
Yeah.
It costs a bit of political will, so don't constantly keep reshuffling, but you can do
it. I do like the position of warden, I think, most, because Torin is the kind of character who, like, he puts the lawful in lawful neutral,
Yeah.
So
I like the idea.
So putting him in charge of all the judges and guards.
Oh.
I was going to ask what is his alignment, but lawful neutral.
Yeah.
That's the same as Amonas then, so that works very well.
I wanted to make him lawful good, but then I looked at the alignments of the other PCs and I was like, yeah, better go neutral.
Well, lawful good does not mean lawful nice, so.
It's true. But Torin also has a selfish streak.
It's true. It's true.
Who doesn't?
As you enter into the city, though, it's something that already stand out to Torin, though, as like potential security issues on his way in.
He's already made a
He's already got
list.
some things in mind, as well as from a defensive point of view. Like the city really only has one major entrance, which great for defense, terrible when it comes to getting resources in if you're under siege. Hopefully it doesn't come up. The city, though, does seem to be thriving, despite all the possible conditions against it. There is a lot of people here in high spirit trying to make their best with the settlement. You can see a small flourishing market trying to set up in the main plaza.
We had the best military parade this land has ever seen.
It was pretty impressive.
We even have commemorative coins of it.
Yeah, that was a
That are indeed
celebration and a
very
half.
Spent as much resources as we possibly could on it and rolled crits on the most most critical of the skill checks from natural 20 on it. Pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, much of the city still has a lot of kind of clearing out and repairs to do. For the most part, though, like if it comes just kind of like a cursory glance, the city can pass as being operational. For cursory inspection for someone, there's enough people moving around, and many of the kind of more like open areas look at least like they're fully operating. The city has very much the illusion of being fully functional, even if it's not actually. Yes. As you move into the settlement, though, I'm not going to go through too much more of the session just because of the fact of why I did kind of want Howden here for part of this, which.
Sure.
But there's a few more things I can go through.
That's fine. We don't need to. If you stop here and wait for Halmir, I'm happy with it. No problem.
Well, I can give you a few extra little notes here before we.
Okay.
I just don't want to push forward too much without him around.
Perfectly fine.
Obviously, the group can return back. Of course, with that, Ammon is able to bring back, of course, the body of Zed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isa, where would Zed like to be buried? Would he like be buried like in the gardens here in the city, or would it be like somewhere outside?
I mean, I think gardens or like just in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, place where life can grow.
All right.
Duchess did say that she would send like a grove tender so that it would grow regardless of where it would be, right? So
The permafrost makes burying bodies not usually the best for decomposition, but with an actual druid here, that doesn't really become an issue anymore.
I mean, I feel like Amras might put it in the city. In that case, like in the garden, obviously, like in the back, like area back here behind the palace. Yeah.
yeah, like it's not the main thoroughfare. It's a quiet, like contemplative, like grove area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Set up like a meditation grove, or something back there. Let that part of the royal gardens run wild and free.
I mean, it doesn't have to be wild and free.
But druids like, untamed wilderness, right? Not necessarily pruned gardens.
Depends.
All right.
You can be a city druid.
Sure. He's trying to cater to Zed's likes here.
Zed would simply be a place where things can grow.
Right.
Not like anything like outside or inside the city.
Well, in that case, yeah, we'll do the garden. We'll do a little like meditation spot and something in the back of the garden. Maybe find a small animal token or something to have next to the grave. Maybe his beloved spider.
Yes.
That is a face spider, and it's never coming back.
Maybe on a moonless night you can hear the face spider skitter around in the grove.
I mean, if you need a symbol of something.
It was your like druidic circle
Focus.
symbol, right?
Necklace.
I mean, I had the tribe symbol.
Tribe symbol, yeah, you had
Oh,
it
yeah.
embroidered, so we can
There we go.
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, like it says stone owl.
All right.
Alright,
We will
so
do
that-
that then. More like druidic stone or tree circle in the back of the garden with the stone owl prominently displayed. You know, an engraving on one of those like menhirs. Here lies said, loyal companion, son of the Empire, friend of birds and animals and forests. May he rest in peace. Find yeah, may he rest in peace. May he find everlasting peace in the eternal circle of life. Something like that.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
His burial actually does seem to attract the attention of a few of the NPCs you've met.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
return with a dead council member. It's a pretty big thing, and one of the people who, one of the only people who would remember like the entire history of the Empire, pretty much because he's as
Yeah.
old as it, if not older.
I mean, most likely live like most throughout of it.
Yeah. Oh, you
He
probably
remembers
did, yeah.
He remembered a good. Yeah, he lived through a good majority of the Empire's history.
And yeah, under normal circumstances, there would be like a park in the capital dedicated to him with like a big statue. But for now, we will do this.
Yeah.
Time to go city building. We need more additional blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely attracts the attention of a few individuals. With individuals such as Sir Bolton and Sister Fiona,
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
coming to attend and see to give prayers for the deceased.
Yep. We'll tell a story how he heroically sacrificed himself to try to save Vickers from being eaten by Sahagin, only to fall their merciless tridents. A heroic death, for sure. Something that would make Sahagin eternal enemy of the Empire for as long as Amanas lives.
It's a Ranger multi-class time.
One take that just for favorite enemy.
Speaking of rangers,
Oh, indeed, Estinian.
no, there's one other ranger who will attend the ceremony
Oh, yeah.
as Countess in Waiting, Lady Eliza,
Right.
will also come to pay respects to Zed.
I always think of her as a paladin.
It's because she has the mindset of a paladin.
Yeah.
And the weapon.
And
Of
the
a
super god shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in another life, you definitely could be a paladin, or actually, for all you know, maybe she'll end up becoming a paladin, a ranger paladin later. Who knows? Though if she does, she'd end up becoming the most obnoxiously goody two shoes kind of paladin. But they have their place. As a young heiress, definitely does go though to pay her respects, bringing some actually flowers from her own personal garden up here. When she finds out the news. Can I make a note of this though? Of course, in the coming days, as said, it sounds like you may wish to do a proper memorial for Zed in the future.
Yes.
For time lapse.
Actually, I have an idea about. Let me just look at some.
Immediate.
Yes. as something to bury him with, I think it would be apt, despite the obvious use and intention that Zed had gone into getting this item. I think burying the thermal cube with him is in part a way to, I suppose, return some measure of debt and respect that Vicus has to him. It will never be paid back in Vicus's eyes, and perhaps Zed would never want it to be thought of that way. But perhaps now the grove that that is being tended by will never be touched by the chill of the cold.
A slot can be made into, I suppose, the small stone monument for the thermal cube to be slotted into.
I have like actually a question in this that came to my mind.
Mhm.
Like it's a very weird thought. So I'm thinking of like burial like things. Like Amanus is like a warrior king or like a paladin. Would Amanus, bury Zed with his shield? Because that is, kind of big thing for him, or was. Or would you like, put it as a wall hanger somewhere? to
I
remember?
would. I mean, bury him with it if he know that it was something he cherished.
I mean, it's just an old thing, but old as him.
If it's at all as him, it probably belongs with him.
He had
Um,
that. You remember him having that shield when you ran away all a decade ago.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably buried with him, or have it like, serve as part of the memorial stone which he lies. Like the stone menhir with the inscriptions, the stone owl and the heat cube and placed in sconces in it, and then the shield at the foot.
Yeah.
It creates a little altar of memory.
It also, offers people a respite from the cold, and place of peace. It's a good setup here.
Maybe, in the future, fervent prayers and Zed's magical ghost will enchant the shield and make it an artifact. Say.
Magical ghost, that would be horrible. I don't want Zed to be undead. No. I have another character for that.
You're too busy being with your wife.
Yes.
I'm sure he will be very benevolent.
I mean, he would be very old ghost, telling stories. But
Like that professor from Harry Potter.
yeah, similar to that.
Professor Binns.
Zed doesn't want to be a ghost. He wants to be with his wife and son. In the afterlife, basically.
No, so he'd probably be part of the monument, commemorating his.
Yeah.
I guess for chat, who might have forgotten how his shield is described, it is an old green and elven kite shield with decoration of shamanic symbolic.
Yep. Forever immortalized in the memorial at the back of the rock.
After the ceremony, Lady Eliza will ask to speak to the group to us on the side.
Certainly has earned that right.
Can I put up a big version of a picture for? I can just drop in her decree into chat just so she can also see what she looks like.
Yep.
And she has a full decree that she was from the start.
Indeed.
It's only the black and white version of the picture, but it works. As Lady Eliza stands there, kind of silent for a moment as everyone kind of moves away from the memorial, still wrapped in a snowy cloak. It's always hard seeing another fall. I came as soon as I could, though, when I heard.
Your presence, Lady Eliza, is always appreciated. Especially so now.
He was a hero to the cause. As you all were, but Zed went round treating people's wounds, ours, and others. He was an ear who always seemed to know when to listen and always had wisdom to share.
He gave much for us, didn't ask for much in return.
She nods. Gently for a moment, you can see her placing a hand upon her family's lion brooch and giving a slight prayer. Unfortunately, I can't come here merely to mourn. I wish I could. I've also come to deliver news.
Yes.
Well, my men have captured someone, and I'm unsure what to do with them.
That's quite the enigmatic statement, Lady Eliza.
They're an adolescent blood elf.
Hmm.
Though
Oh,
I say adolescent, he's probably older than I am.
Where was he captured?
My troops found him on patrol through the woodlands. He was seemingly searching around. And so far, though, I've not been able to speak with him. Though I get the sense, just by my instincts, he may have come here, as Lorenza warned, looking for her.
indeed, I believe you're right.
He does not seem to understand our tongue up here, though, which has been rather unhelpful.
Hmm. Are you able to ascertain what indeed he is able to speak?
I imagine it's some dialect of elf speak.
Hmm. Well, that seems likely. Luckily, we have people who speak Elvish.
Vic
Rather
is
than
not.
being busy up here, and no offense to my brother, he's not particularly the best at interrogating someone.
No, I would imagine not. Yes.
As it stands, though, he's not been causing us trouble so far. We've captured him, but he put up little resistance and handed over his weapon.
All right. Well, in that case, if you think it is of import, you can bring him to the dungeons here in the city, and we can talk to him at our leisure.
As you can understand, the people, as soon as they saw him, were rather upset, at the least.
Yes. His
Lorenzo's actions have reopened some old wounds.
his tribe is not well liked in these parts, obviously. Still, I don't plan to kill him simply because he is a blood elf. We need to know what he wants first.
Just be aware some of the populace are not quite as magnanimous.
Unless snorts and say, I will keep it in mind. Populace should also remember that I also have my limits when it comes to magnanimousness.
She frowns for a moment. Look, people do not give up grudges easily, unfortunately.
Oh, I can sympathize with that. But a farmer should worry about farming the fields and leave stately affairs to those equipped to handle them.
They're just worried we're going to have another Blood Witch attack.
We'll see. If the Blood Elf has been friendly so far, I doubt we have much to fear.
He's cooperated at least, which
He has suffered a loss. I doubt he would do anything now at this point, having surrendered his only means to, well, one of only.
Oh, I see. Of course, they're here to catch him, get the body from. Get her body, right? She said that someone would come.
Yeah. And we knew this was happening also as they tried to contact.
I just forgotten about it until now. But that's fine. We can hand over the body. They don't need it for anything, really.
Well,
Side note, Seth buried the body in the woods.
Yep.
Like, she has a grave in there.
did that tell anyone where the grave was?
Yes, it's also in his, like, notebook.
Okay.
He didn't, and then went and died himself. We're like, no idea. Just
well,
Yeah, but it's a simple grave with, the Blood Witch is like a name, Lorenzo, and like a day when she died.
sure.
Eliza will nod to both of you. In that case, I will have it arranged then. As they seem cooperative enough, I should hopefully be able to bring them up here. There's a slight look of worry on her face, but she doesn't voice whatever that reason is. She also then looks to the others that are standing in the more background here. I also see that your diplomatic efforts brought you, I presume, more allies?
Does a sweep and says, yes, we have a seal here. Sort of, she is a lore master of some sort and a proficient spellcaster from what I can see.
Eliza squints her eyes a little, looking Ciel up and down.
Amnas will give her a look and then just a sort of a nod, like, I know. I know.
Gives a courtesy. A bow.
Your hands.
Curious? You can touch them. They don't harm.
That's not mere frostbite.
No, it's a necrotic thing.
I can tell. Eliza looks mildly suspicious looking.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. She should be. And this
Ciel
is.
gives a toothy vampiric smile.
Oh, that's good.
And her suspicion level has increased further.
Gonna be great to have Lady Eliza be like, "What is this monster?" And here is Sir Torin, a would you describe scarred, battle-hardened warrior from the Eastern Front.
Torin grunts in confirmation.
Lady Eliza pauses for a moment, looking your rather formidable frame over. And giving almost like a very respectful look as she does so. Lady Eliza, as you can tell, kind of looking at her, given you're someone who's quite good at assessing people anyway, combat-wise. She appears to be a fairly physically, in fairly good physical shape, and at her back appears to be a very much a great bow. It's a pretty nice looking weapon, and it's very clear she's athletic and fast. Someone very well suited to kind of wilderness skirmishes.
All right.
Very much the practical, very much the very practical kind of noble by the clears of it. Very pragmatic. She doesn't wear very much in the way of jewelry outside of just the single gold necklace that she has.
The rule of Freyfrost, the country we have, if it wasn't clear.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be. But she will actually fully introduce herself here. To both of you, then, I would like to welcome you, though this is, of course, she kind of bows her head to Am's moment. My good friend's land here. On the behalf of Freyfrost, I would like to welcome both of you to the realm. I am Eliza Rematar, the soon-to-be Countess.
I'll just nod.
I must say, we don't see very many Dragonborn on this side of... Dragonborn. Brain just farted from it. It is Dragonborn, right?
That is the right word, yeah.
My brain briefly went to Skyrim mode, like, wait, am I mixing things up with Skyrim?
Yeah.
We don't see very many Dragonborn on... We don't see very many Dragonborn in these parts. I haven't seen one for... Not since I did some traveling when I was a little bit younger.
I suppose many did not have reason to leave the homeland. I did.
I'm sorry that you won't have much company here of your own kind, but I do hope we can. If there's anything you need, please. She gives a very kind of. Just kind of gives you a smile for a moment.
Loneliness so far has been the least of my concerns.
Very well. With that, though, I suppose I'll head back down south for the moment. Thankfully, the roads are getting easier to traverse each time.
That's something.
For the most part, though, it's been quite quiet since you've left. Not much else has happened, not much has happened for the most part.
Well, that is good to hear. You know that there's still a lot of military movements in the far south. I suspect most of the kingdom's eyes and resources are actually focused on that. We still have the good Duke, is our most immediate target with our operations.
I have received a few letters from the Duke personally, but
aware, do you think, of what has happened here?
I would personally rate him as being currently delusional to the situation.
Works for us. We'll see what his response is once the declaration happens. The alliance now hopefully secured with the Silver Isles. I think any hasty inclinations that he had of a swift invasion will be curtailed.
I do hope so. My people are not ready for an all-out war against someone with so many mages in his court.
Odds. We'll see exactly what he brings. It's just certainly dangerous. Get close. Taps on his hilt of his sword. They fall quickly. For many ways to slay a mage.
That may be the case, but it means little for the average man or woman just taking up arms to defend their land. Most of them will get blown to pieces.
We're counting on the Duke's inherent cowardness and self-preservation. I think if he does invade, even though we have now a fairly strong coalition up here, he will certainly pay the cost for it. Hopefully he's just too used to his own life of leisure to be willing to pay that cost.
Just in case, either way, I have already started working on fortifications.
In holds.
It never hurts to be safe.
And we will spend a lot of the remaining time preparing as well.
I will see you in the coming days then.
Nods. Yes, Eliza. And please travel safely.
She nods. And Lady Eliza will head off into the city.
As she heads off, Vicus will turn around to everyone and look specifically at Torin and say, I overheard a little bit on the way here of your talk, the king. If you're wishing to take a look at our fine city and defenses, then I will show you as much as I know. I am not well versed in the field of knowledge. However, as is my station, I am aware of many things that goes on. And also, I wish to keep an eye on you.
I expected nothing less.
Good. You can let yourself get settled, and I will find you.
Do you want? I guess he'll speak up. Do you want me to come along or just hide in a corner?
I sort of looks Seal up and down and says, given that your talents are multifaceted, to say the least, in what capacity do you think you would best serve Council?
I have, well, talent in medicine and, talking with people. But I have various bits and pieces of knowledges about multitude of things.
Yes, that's why I have trouble
Bit of an
placing you.
all-rounder, I guess. You can fit me in any corner. I can do as best job as I can.
What positions do we have currently that are open?
Console and sages are the main things she's fit on.
Yeah.
But
We have
because
lost our sage, so now we
Yeah.
have a spot.
Yeah.
because she's a lore part, she has a lot of skills that can fit for all the ranks in the
Yeah.
fort.
Yeah, currently, spots that you have open, if I was to slide, slide Torin in, would be, let's see, Marshal, Sage, Chaplain, Seer would be the main ones. Console's technically taken by Lady Eliza, though she could shift into being something like your advisor.
Yeah.
I mean, Sage seems to fit feel pretty good, and we have lost our sage, so
Sages need to be fairly intelligent or wise, and have a decent understanding of either history or medicine.
Which
Oh,
both she has.
medicine.
Much in
Yeah.
medicine, but she also has history.
I mean, it
But
makes
she's not
sense for
like-
a lore bard to be in charge of learning education, right?
yeah, it makes sense to me. Although she's kind of idiosyncratic, you know, I'm not sure exactly what type of curriculum she would put together.
I mean, it'll be an exciting one for sure.
Psychic sleep studies.
A lot of
No.
thaumaturgy on this.
It's not magical research, so you know.
That's true.
Alchemical blood sorcery.
I mean, in fairness,
that is
who better than a vampire to be in charge of your hospital system?
It's
They
true.
need the patients alive if they want to drink from them.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, as I say, you can certainly pick whatever one you think is more interesting. But Sage does seem pretty.
Yeah, like the Sage and Control are the main things that I was, going for.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I have like all-arounder because,
mean-
Bard.
Stick with Sage then. I mean, you seem
Yeah,
to
that's
enjoy
fine.
that position from before, right? Keep at it.
And you're flexible enough to know when you're needed elsewhere or want to be elsewhere. So
Surprisingly, she is also a very good admiral. It's based on Dex,
Right.
yeah.
Well,
and,
that's
survival and nature.
good to know in case the fleet is made.
It turns out she can function well on a ship.
As shown before.
Yes.
I mean, I would really like her as an admiral, like in a huge admiral hat, like one of those like enormous with a lot of feathers.
I mean, it's entirely possible if she has survival or nature.
I mean, I have both trained.
Then technically, there's no reason she couldn't.
I would roll it with +7.
Very good.
Yeah, that's good.
At least when taking in the fact you can use Dex for the admiral role. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's an important question that has to be asked to ascertain whether she would make a good admiral or not. Are you able to cross moving waters?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a fair argument as a vampire.
Yeah.
Also, she can use illusions, which can be useful in the sea. Some degree.
True.
Oceanic mirage.
Yeah, mirages and this.
Summon Kraken.
That's not an illusion. I guess, yes.
I mean, summon illusionary kraken.
A small dragon,
A tiny one.
But
No, the thing is, we're just spreading it. We're just spreading out a lot. So it's just a giant 2D kraken.
Yes, enormous, but it's 2D. So if you look at it from an angle, it looks really weird.
Okay, look, if you're looking at it from really far away, though, you're not
Yeah.
going to tell 2D.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, but-
exactly.
like as a level 4, I'm thinking of picking up hallucin with terrain. So I could like hide like reefs and this kind of stuff.
I mean, we can
know.
keep it in mind.
I don't know why though. I love the idea now of Ciel swinging it on a rope, on a ship in an admiral's hat, shooting eldritch blasts as she goes.
That's great.
Does have a rapier, right, or something?
I'll give Captain
Yes,
Stanine
now
a
I
run for
have
his money.
rapier.
See? Yeah. Well, once we get the navy, Steel is definitely being the admiral, obviously.
Also, Seal cannot drown because it doesn't breathe.
It's true.
I mean, I suppose that is an advantage technically.
Yeah.
It is.
All right, well, the potential is great. I like it.
For now, though, Sage, possibly any movement to admiral later.
I've torn on
Gordon?
being Judge Dredd in the city.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I think Warden and Spymaster have like overlapping spheres in the sense of like external and internal security.
Warden is very much about maintaining the security which you can see,
Yeah.
while Spymaster is very much the security you can't see.
I imagine when Vickers has identified someone, goes to the board and be like, yeah, arrest this guy.
Pretty much, yeah, because it's basically the Spymaster is all about gathering information. And then either the Spymaster can go to the Warden and say this person needs to be arrested, or they go to the Enforcer and say this person needs to be killed.
Yeah. Mazar or Torn? Who shall I choose today?
Roll a dice and let's
Like, is this a target we need to capture, or is and like try lawfully, or is this a target we need to discreetly get rid of? Which one is it?
Information is key.
I mean, it turns out like all of the council positions interact with each other on different occasions.
Oh yeah,
Makes
indeed.
sense. Yeah, if you suddenly run across a whole bunch of weird arcane shit during your spy mastery, you may want to bring that to the Magister.
Yep.
If any of you need to requisition stuff, you ask the treasurer.
Oh yeah, what's our bill like?
Well, I'm not going to give exact details on the bill for the moment. What I will
Okay.
say, however, is in a few days' time when Raiden gets the full bill delivered to him. You just hear very loud frustration and the sound of what might sound like a table being flipped over in his office.
The Raiden has fainted. Someone bring the smelling
Oh.
salts.
It will be managed. He will deal with the consequences of this.
We have gained a powerful ally and 2 new council members. It's surely worth the cost.
He will deal with the consequences of this. In addition, of course, you now have Dame Rochelle as now steward.
Ah, yes. Well,
So she's now in charge of kind of looking over your lands and kind of directing stuff like construction and management of your hold.
polishing the books, I think.
Yes. It's a great reverse mission from Raiden, because while Raiden's in charge of managing the money, the steward's in charge of spending the money to make the realm better.
I just need a more dedicated treasurer, right? So Raiden can go and be our crafter man. But we'll get there. Maybe we can get like a greedy dwarven banker or something.
I mean, you already had a greedy human banker.
I know, but no one liked him but me. So
For good reason.
The main position your court is now missing is you don't have a marshal. You don't have a head of the military yourself.
Right. So we're looking at either getting Bolton or what's his name?
Gillian.
Sir Gillian, yeah.
But
Sir Gillian would be more
and
towards
you don't really have any
the-
kind of religious representation.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sir Gillian would probably be a more religious stance because he has some like faiths that Sir Bolton would be more martial.
I don't know. I was thinking for the religious one, maybe we should go with like one of the clerics that we befriended.
That is indeed an option for the group.
Depends on what we have currently available in recruitment, right?
That's like we'll discuss in a
Next
future
time.
point.
I also feel like
Yeah.
we should find a spot for Luck now that Zed is not around and wants to murder him constantly.
It's I mean, there were talks from Ceres on that of potentially him becoming
Bodyguard for the
a
diplomat.
bodyguard retainer.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
mean, he's great though. I like Luck.
Zed didn't like him.
No,
for
I know.
reasons.
But hey, you've got you have a halfling who can unarmed combat and take someone out.
Yeah.
It's
Plenty
pretty
of
Bodyguard.
options to look at.
Yes, you have some vacancies in your council, but you've certainly now shored it up a little bit now, having a warden in there as well.
Yep.
Yeah. We're not going to go any further today because just the fact of obviously, yeah, I don't want to push forward to any kind of major beats now without Haldeman.
Yeah, it's all good. It's a good stopping point, I think.
Next time, what you can expect, what everyone can expect is, of course, there will be some discussions. There should be more discussion with Lady Eliza. Very likely, you'll have potentially the chance, if you choose to, that session, to interrogate the blood elf that's arrived.
Right.
And otherwise, I believe the group has signaled intentions to try and clear out some of the elven ruins, notably probably the spire.
Yes.
Yes, in the sense of Torrens earlier, like discussion about making sure that we have control over the things that the city encompasses, and the tower is a topic that would be brought up to him and explained that we're going to do, which is what I can remember, it is basically like an arcane spire full of traps and awful things, but also some treasures and perhaps magical artifacts.
Plus research and knowledge about the city and such.
Yeah. So a very important VIP area to clear out as soon as possible, and we also have acquired an asset that would be very useful in doing so, in the guise of a Dwemer cat that we have technically befriended, or at least acquainted of.
You're acquaintance with it.
We made a deal.
It may come back to help during this.
Yep.
I love a good Dwemer cat.
They love eating magic.
Yum,
It
yum.
turns out you've got a place trapped with a whole bunch of magic. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yep.
Obviously, next session will have some combat in it if you go down that route, because obviously the tower does have some defenses that would love to. Well, really don't want you to be in there.
We'll get to swinging.
I think we should. Be a
You've got
nice,
some gold and smashing to do.
be a nice shift in flow from diplomacy to combat for a bit.
Also, though, this you returning back here, you have successfully completed the side quest as you were required to do, which means I am happy to say you are all free to reach level 7.
Hey.
Yes, let's do that now.
About time, jeez.
Yes.
2 sessions. Oof.
Meanwhile, the others have been waiting a while for this one.
Indeed.
Now,
It's
so-
been since I actually can't remember the last
It's
time.
been a
we
while.
did one. Yeah.
It's been waiting on certain story beats before it would trigger. This was one
Indeed.
of the possible ones.
I have so many spells that I can pick.
Yes, pick good ones.
I have Dimension Store, Freedom of Movement, Greater Invisibility, Hallucinatory Terrain, Phantasmal Killer, Polymorph, or Routers of Psychic Lance.
Second that's good.
Polymorph is amazing.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, like Psychic Lance was really a damage spell for me, other than Ancient Blast. Polymorph is what it is. Phantasmal Killer would be like an illusion mind fear affecting.
Plasma Killer is good, but there's a lot of saves involved in it, and it tends to fail because of that.
Polymorph is a good versatile option for most things, honestly.
Polymorph is incredible. You can do so much with it.
As a whole, just to wrap things up, of course. Though this was a very slow session today, partly because it was just kind of an interlude, kind of just finishing up any last details, and also for us to try and hopefully get. Well, part of it was also to try and get some minor introductions in for Sheep's character and such as well.
Yep.
So we hadn't really had a chance to see much about a new character yet.
We've got a nice snapshot today.
Obviously, things will speed up again. You'll have a bit more of a. There'll be a bit more action next session and a bit more meaning. A bit more important elements will be coming up.
Yeah.
This session was going to be a very slow one. I hope everyone has still enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Oh,
I
yeah,
liked
for
it.
Francis.
A
Yeah,
chance
for sure.
for some interaction, a chance to kind of explore what's going on.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
some good character building.
Yeah.
Alright, level 7. Yay.
Oh.
Also, apparently, I might need to update my Foundry module because I can't re-import characters at the moment. That's
Oh
fine.
no.
Oh no.
That's fine. I can do that between sessions.
Yes, my character inventories are now up to date, so you are free to fully import whenever you wish.
Actually, as I found out, it wouldn't have been too bad an issue anyway for you, Valky.
Oh,
There's a special option when I'm importing saying exclude items added custom through Foundry.
oh, that's brilliant.
So if you add something to your Foundry inventory but forget to add it to your D&D Beyond, it will
It'll
just
save it.
it will just keep the item carried over.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Which is
Either
nice.
way, they are now the same.
I mean, that's good practice in general because I might forget to press that button. So
Yes, yes.
All right, well, get
That's a lot.
I get my Aura of Conquest. It is time.
time
Yeah.
to conquer that tower.
Yes, if people get scared of me, they brain melt.
They can't move.
They can't move, so they melt forever.
Sadly, golems aren't the best at being afraid.
I'll do my best.
That said, though, other kinds of defenses in there might definitely get afraid of you.
The doors are going to be so afraid of you.
The doors is gonna swing open out of
I
fear.
mean, if any of the doors are mimics, okay, they'll be afraid.
Yeah,
True.
definitely.
All right, well, thanks people for watching. This will be uploaded to YouTube as normal, and next time Alamir is hopefully back and can do the streaming as per usual. We shall see you next week for Blood Bonds, and yeah, take care.
See you next week, folks.
Bye bye.